What's going on, everybody? How we doing, man? Just getting everything set up. We're gonna bring you into a little bit of music. We got a new song, man. Free Eddie, free Eddie, free Eddie till it's backwards. Actually, you know what I'm saying? What's up, everybody? But yeah, just give me a minute to get situated, and we'll be right back.
Eddie O'Brien, oh what a story to tell. 15 years young, caught in a prison cell. Trapped in the system, ain't that just a shame? For a crime he didn't do, they played him like a game. Pattern so clear, yet nobody sees. Intentional lies blowing in the breeze. Documented truths, but they're buried so deep. Poor kid lost his life while the system's asleep. Free Eddie, free him till it's backward. Guilty on paper, but he never had the hard facts. Let a fool think he won, that's how it goes. Eddie's innocence buried beneath all the woes. The man couldn't keep his own story straight. Taking the kid's future, ain't that real fate? Welcome back, chat got us talking hood-wise. Dark humor and metaphors disguised in the cries. Sir, hypothetically, in a murder case, ain't it funny how a fool runs this rat race? Growth don't happen in the middle of this mess. Step back, breathe, man, just let go of the stress. Free Eddie, free him till it's backward. Guilty on paper, but he never had the hard facts. Let a fool think he won, that's how it goes. Eddie's innocence buried beneath all the woes. See, you gotta let the clowns believe they succeeded. You didn't fold a break, you just got what you needed. Took it to the chin, not the heart, you see. Don't let the chaos take space in your melody. You're built different, like a lesson they missed. Teaching them boundaries, couldn't find them on a list. Drowning in a puddle, they dragged you below. But now you let them flounder, cause they reap what they sow. So here's to Eddie, just as long overdue. Fighting for the truth like we all have to do. Step back from the noise, watch him throw a fit. Free Eddie O'Brien, let's never forget this. Eddie O'Brien, oh what a story to tell. Fighting for his life in this unjust hell. Free him till it's backward. Guilty on paper, but he never had the hard facts. Let a fool think he won, that's how it goes. Eddie's innocence buried beneath all the woes.
Courtroom lights, truth's gonna bend. Half an inch standing tall, trying to defend. Said it looked bad on paper, but it's all deeper. Politics lurking, call it a grim reaper. Eddie was just a kid, caught in the fray. But the power players had a game to play. From day one, they wanted him to fall. A kid in the spotlight, crushed by it all. Heaven didn't do the truth, no, it ain't fair. Politics behind the scenes, no one would care. Guilty or innocent, the verdict was set. Justice wasn't blind, it was a political bet. Dr. Bonham was chosen, thought he would be right. A face of fairness in that long, dark night. But the DA smiled wide, played both sides slick. Heffernan thought neutral, but maybe that's the trick. Eddie's fate sealed with a stroke of a pen. My ruling was sound, but the world turned again. They needed him guilty to fit their plan, change the laws mid-game. Oh, what a scam! Heffernan knew the truth. No, it ain't fair. Politics behind the scenes, no one would care. Guilty or innocent, the verdict was set. Justice wasn't blind, it was a political bet. Juvenile court, he should have stayed there. 20 years, not a slap, but no one would care. System in panic cause he stood his ground, but the wheels of justice just turned him around. They wanted Eddie down, they wanted him lost. With the stakes so high, he paid the cost. Heffernan's truth rang clear in the dark. Tried to bring light, but it missed the mark. Eddie, a kid caught in a game, lost in the shuffle, society's shame. So here's the lesson carved deep as stone: justice shouldn't wear a political tone. Heffernan stood firm, knew it wasn't just. In a world focused on power, who can you trust? Heffernan knew the truth. No, it ain't fair. Politics behind the scenes, no one would care. Guilty or innocent, the verdict was set. Justice wasn't blind, it was a political bet. So let's remember as the story unfolds, the tales of the innocent, the truth yet told. Heffernan knew the truth, and it cuts like a knife in the courtroom of power. What's the cost of a life?
What's going on, man? What's the cost of a life? Like I've been telling you, was we supposed to just throw Eddie O'Brien away? You know what I mean? What's going on, everybody, man? Welcome back. Appreciate it. I see everybody in the chat. You know what I mean? What I want to say real quick, I will say a quick disclaimer. I notice how people talk about Delta Airlines, like it's some emotional baseline. Been a lot of shots taken lately, but look, I'm not perfect, right? But at least I'm not Delta. Because Delta, let me tell you, is that friend that swears they change, but every time you trust them again, they remind you exactly who they are. Yeah, I had to write that down. You know what I mean? But if you know, you know. You know what I mean? But welcome, everybody, man. We're talking about the truth behind it, the truth the Commonwealth buried, the truth the media ignored, the truth the streets never forgot. And to help us break it all down, man, we got a man who knew Eddie long ago, before the politics, a man that may know the system when they decided to make a 15-year-old kid a trophy. Someone that's probably been a real one to Eddie O'Brien, someone that has stepped in for Eddie O'Brien, as a family figure, was there when Eddie O'Brien couldn't be there for his family, and has a big love for the O'Brien family and knows all the players, a longtime friend, a real one, and someone who's seen this case from a lot of angles that a lot of people probably can't even explain. But we got Joseph JoJo Burhoe is in the building. What's up, JoJo?
What's up, Mike? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. I'm sure everyone in the chat can hear you as well. But chat, do me a favor, share this. Everybody welcome JoJo. to the show, man. Welcome, welcome, JoJo.
You had to say Joey, didn't you?
I did too. Huh? I screwed that up, of course. Yeah, no, my bad, Joe.
I'm
How you
Irish.
doing, man? How's everything?
I'm awesome. How about you?
All right, man. Before we get into this, a lot of people send me emails. They want to know, how do you know Eddie, your relationship to the OBrien family? What I mean, just to start a foundation.
All right. First, I want to send a shout out to the O'Brien family. Trisha, Eddie, Megan, Jess. I love you guys. Mary, Jeannie. They're like family to me. And Auntie Jerry. Can't forget Auntie Jerry. You understand?
Oh yeah, she's gonna be one of my moderators. I just gotta get her plugged in. Great, great lady. She sent me my free Eddie O'Brien shirt.
Well, it just goes to show you, if you wanna know a family, they're the epitome of a family. You understand? Loyalty, love, honor, respect. I learned so much from that family. I can't even explain it. They did for me more than I ever did for them. You know what I mean? So let's get into Eddie. All right. I've known Eddie since he was a big kid. And I'm going to say a big kid because that's all he was. You know what I mean? And a gentle giant. And since I seen him since he was 15 to today, that kid has not changed. How he hasn't soured and got hateful is beyond me, because I would be a lunatic to deal with what this poor kid has had to deal with for the last 30 years. Do you understand?
Right.
This is a nightmare for this kid every day. You understand that? Every day he can't see his mother, see his father, sisters, nieces. Like, this is a very family-oriented family. I wish you could see them through my eyes, I grew up in Charlestown. Tough town.
Somebody who's seen the system, someone who knows how the institutions work. Did it ever change, Eddie?
Not one bit. And how I used to say it to him all the time. I'd say, how do you keep it together? Because honestly, I've done quite a few years, and situations arise in there that, you can't be a good guy. Sometimes you got to go with what's coming. You know what I mean? And this kid found a way to make peace. He's probably stopped more bad things from happening inside than the security of the institutions. You understand? The unwritten stuff that you don't know about,
Let me stop you there. I heard from somebody that said how he had your back made away during a basketball game.
Oh.
You recall that?
Oh yeah. There was, you have your basketball leagues in there, and it's funny you bring that up, But anyways, there was a real bad sex offender. His last name is Tate, and I don't feel bad about saying his name because he was a monster. He was a referee in the games, and there's probably 200 people in the gym, and the only people that could be in the gym at the time were people on basketball teams. You know what I mean? They didn't let the whole general public in there to watch the games. You had to be on a team to go in there. So there's probably 12 of us that were white, and the rest were blacks. And a dear friend of mine, thank God, Chucky, who was a black guy from Roxbury, was there too also. And anyways, Tate he was the epitome of a bully, about 6'2", 260, lean, from doing 30 years. He was in prison for raping women and handcuffing their husbands to make them watch. He was a sick dude, this guy,
Horrible.
And here's the referee of our game. How about that? You understand? But anyway, over the years, I always knew me and this guy were going to have a problem. It was just a matter of when, So he was making bad calls, and I called him out on it. He came at me, and I told him I'm not a 105-pound white girl, you know. And I hit him with a 2-piece, and he shook. So I goes, oh, you're mine. So anyway, this fight lasted for 25 minutes. The cops hated this guy so bad that they let it go on. You know, they watched it, and now there's only 12 white guys, and the rest are all black, you know. And my buddy Chuck, he yells out, 1-on-1, thank God. So me and this kid got to do a 1-on-1. But everywhere I turned, I could see Eddie with his arms open, making sure no one come near me, you know. It's the first time a guy ever made me feel safe. You get where I'm coming from?
Eddie's that respected. Or that liked.
But the thing is that, this kid's a protector. He had my back, and no one was going to hurt me, and I felt that. You understand? Like, I knew that I was okay to keep going because he had my back. You understand? That's a big thing inside there. People don't get it. This is a bad places, This, to people, it's just, they get to read in the papers, prisons, now live inside them. You got the worst of the worst, 24/7 or 365 days a year. You get it? And
no, absolutely.
And like I said, situations arise where it gets ugly, and you got to arise with the situation. And just goes to show that this kid never got into any of the craziness, but he was there to help his friends always, And it kills me. I'm so personally in touch with this. It kills me to think that he's still in prison. If people just knew this kid, like, you sat down with him for 10 minutes, you'd figure him out, And so it's even hard for me to talk now because I feel like I'm defending somebody that doesn't need any defense. You get what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. But we need to let the people know.
No, I get it. I'm just saying that's why, this might not be easy for me. It's like, I might sound a little, because I'm that deep involved with this kid,
Right.
And,
right.
And he invited me into his family. When I got home, he invited me. I went for Thanksgiving with their family, and that ended up in a 20-something year relationship now, his sisters became my sisters. His aunts became my aunts. His uncles became my uncles, And his mother and father became like a mother and father to me, and they treated me like a son, And I got to learn because I grew up in Charlestown. Things weren't pretty growing up, And I got to learn how to be a good father and to my children, like to be around these people and to grow with these people. I got to understand what family was really all about. You get it? Like the loyalty and the love and the compassion and the understanding. I never had any of that. It was A to Z. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know exactly what
when I grew up in Charlestown, Charlestown was Charlestown. You understand? And I'll just give you a little tidbit. When I was 13, my 14-year-old cousin was brutally murdered in Charlestown. She was stabbed over 250 times, raped, lit on fire. They found her under the bridge. They thought she was shot with a sawed-off shotgun. And in Charlestown, you got the code of silence, so no one told. So the only justice she got is what the justice that I gave. You understand? So I understand the brutality of this crime. And if I ever thought that kid had anything to do with anything like that, do you think I would even have this conversation with you right now?
No, I don't think so.
No,
not hearing who you are and where you come from, and
not at all. Trust me when I tell you, not at all. I used to take pleasure in beating women beaters and pedophiles in prison. I'm not gonna lie,
Oh yeah.
And it is what it is. Sometimes, people can't get justice, but justice is done for them, And in this case here is such a disaster. And, it goes to show that there's two sets of rules, It's their set and then ours, And we got to follow their rules that they don't even follow,
Right,
So,
absolutely. On a daily basis, so people on the outside can understand how are you guys on a regular treated by like the institution?
Well, the institutions, you got to remember something. we have a civilization in there, and it goes by rank, just like it goes by rank out here. You know, they will treat you with respect that you have to earn. You got to earn respect in there. You don't just get it in there. You know what I mean? And
no, absolutely, absolutely.
You know, Eddie. Let me tell you something. I could put it this way: most of Eddie's problems that he ever had in there was defending other people. It wasn't even his problem. Do you understand?
Yeah, that sounds like, you know, everything that I hear about Eddie.
Oh, no, it's a fact. I mean, from the visiting room issues to just Eddie stands up for the little guy that ain't got nobody, man. Because, you know, let's face it. It's exactly what happened to him, you know? You know, imagine being a 15-year-old kid and having this happen to you. Like, I don't even think this really hit Eddie yet. I think he's still waiting for them to say, sorry, it's time to go. We made a mistake. You get where I'm coming from? Like, I don't think it's honestly, do you know what I mean, Mike?
Oh, yeah, and hopefully we can there's a lot of people that are free Eddie ever since this been going on, you know, so a lot of people like the Eddie story. I bring all facts. I bring the paperwork. We broke down the DNA and everything, you know, but was,
right.
So,
and that's it, Mike. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
And then you look at the Amatol test, and at 15, and for that timeline to work, so many pieces would have to be moving around. You
know, it's funny, right? Because you mentioned the timeline. Let's start with Heffron. All right, the report with Heffron. I mean, let me give you a little idea about Judge Heffron. Judge Heffron was a probation officer in Charlestown for over 15 years, and this is when Charlestown was Charlestown. This was before my era, which was a mad era. Just think about the 60s with the McLaughlin and McLean wars and all that stuff. All right, this is where Judge Heffron grew up as a probation officer. And he was my Uncle Richie's probation officer. And so he got kind of close with my grandmother, you know, to the point where when I went in front of Judge Heffron, it was how's Helen and where's Helen? And there would come my grandmother come to show up for me. And they'd have a 10-minute conversation before I even got arraigned or anything, you know. That's the type of guy this guy was. This guy was in the community. This guy knows the players. He knows the rules, the unwritten rules. And it was tough to be a cop and probation officer in Charlestown because of the code of silence. No one ever told nobody nothing. You see what I mean? So just imagine Judge Heffron. He put himself through school, became a lawyer, became a judge. It's just so weird that he ends up on this case with Eddie. You know, they couldn't have had a better judge as far as, how do I say it, in the community, well respected by both sides, very smart, intelligent guy. And he said it from the get-go. If you just read his report, here it is in a nutshell. This kid, he says right in that report, he says, when they took it away from him, he knew this kid had no chance. He was already guilty. You understand that? He knew that from the rip. And in Riley's report, you know, and the book they found on Riley, you know, the diary of if that ain't a madman's trophy, I don't know what is. You understand why he would ever kept that? Goes to show you what kind of people you're dealing with here. Where he states in, you know, Heffron orders, you know, that doctor, and he explains he did it because he knew this doctor was good, and we'll get to this. You get where I'm coming from? Like, piece by piece, Heffron.
We'll get to that. You know what I mean?
Right.
But Heffron, I think he basically, let me tell you all how they railroaded this kid, and he broke it down piece by piece. And I have the Heffron report, and people can go to the Truth About Eddie O'Brien to get it, but there was probable cause, but the real issue was politics, and Heffron goes into that. Look, the case looked bad on paper, but the real problem wasn't guilt. It was the politics behind the scenes.
Absolutely, but you got to remember, it wasn't really the at that point, the political donut hadn't started being baked yet. You get where I'm coming from? That's where they were formulating it. The thing with Heffron was that, but see, why this is important, Riley's diaries, because it's basically hits every part of this case from the get-go. And what I mean about Riley states in that thing, how do I get Heffron and the doctor to go at each other? And then he states he'll have to make up a lie to get them not to like each other. You get where I'm coming from? That's the mind. I want you to understand Riley's mind from the get-go here.
So nothing was going to save this kid.
Nothing. And the thing was, just I said it to you earlier, Mikey. I says, in the O.J. Simpson case, right? If the glove don't fit, you must acquit. In the Eddie O'Brien case, it was, if the glove don't fit, make it fit.
Yeah, reverse profiling. Absolutely.
There you go.
That's an injustice. That's a setup.
There it is. Everything in a nutshell.
So he picked Dr. Bonham because he trusted Dr. Bonham, and the DA
100%.
liked him too. You know what I mean? But then he admits that the we know that Riley liked him, and he said he thought Bonham was neutral, but he might have been playing both sides.
There's no question, though. The thing is, this was a political. This was do you remember the times, Mike? You're around my age, so you remember what was going on. I know you're in Rhode Island, but you used to have the same issues basically as we do with the juvenile system and all that. You know,
yeah, we all got locked up, even into the adult system.
And at the time, there were some really high-profile juvenile cases, and before Eddie, and I mean high, and the publicity they were getting it was crazy because they were changing the laws to charge them as adults and all that stuff. But the thing was that Riley got to see how much publicity they were causing. You understand?
Yeah, Craig Price, they had him down as the youngest serial killer in the nation.
Yeah. Can you imagine this? They were calling him a serial killer.
And they had to let him out when he was 21. And then what the state did, they couldn't do nothing about it. So they just started giving him time, 25 years for attempted court. You know what I mean? Right. 7 years for threatening a god, and now he's just buried.
And the thing is
a psychopath,
The thing about it, though, Mikey, the thing about it was this was a machine over there. The Cambridge boys, the crew, they're all most of your judges and lawyers and everything, they all come out of Cambridge. I mean, it is what it is, Boston College grads, Harvard grads, they're all linked together. And Judge Heffernan wasn't one of them. You get it?
And
Judge Heffernan
originally ruled that Eddie should stay in juvenile court, and all hell broke loose.
Right. And that, again, for Riley, who was the attorney general, what was he at the time? He was at the time, he was Middlesex County District Attorney, correct?
I believe so, yeah. And I think.
Yeah, okay. For him to come, are you kidding me? And Heffernan says this. He says, he took this case himself. And Hefferan's like kind of, if you can read in between the lines, he must have laughed and said, "You've never prosecuted a case in your life. You were a defense attorney." You understand?
Yeah. So this was his first chair in it.
Yeah. So come on, Heffernan knew what it was right away. Riley wanted this case himself. How? Why? And then with his press conference after every issue, I mean. This was so easy. I mean, for guys that know the law and know what's going on, for the normal people, they don't get it. They think he's a superhero watching TV, going to get the bad guy. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
To people like us that know the game, he's look at this egotistic lunatic. You know what I mean? Can't get, he would not even put any of the other attorneys on there, on his team. It was him by himself, his press conferences. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the system panicked because his ruling didn't match the political agenda. Everybody was on one side. It seems like Heffernan was on the other side. And that's the difference between a law scholar and a political judge.
There you go.
Someone that really knows the system and cares about the law. And Heffernan.
And that was Heffernan. Heffernan was a guy that started on the streets with these kids on the streets. So he had an understanding of their life, what they're going through. You understand? He was a probation officer, basically becomes a psychiatrist by the time they're done. You do get that, right?
And I heard Heffernan said his biggest regret in life was this ruling because it forced and changed the law.
Yes, there you go. That's a law guy. That's a guy that
Heffernan
did everything
was still with us, because he died with that on his conscience.
Well, I think he's alive. I found out he's alive still, by the way.
Oh, is he? I'm sorry.
I heard he died,
I don't wish you no harm.
Yes, but he's this is a case that'll always haunt him. I mean, look at Riley become a drunk. That should have haunted him. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I mean, God doesn't let this all go. Sooner or later, karma's going to touch you one way, shape, or form. I learned that the hard way. You understand?
Right. Yeah. No. Absolutely. And your name's recognized throughout the system, and I think that's why I was glad that you came on, because people can take your word, for what it is. It's definitely
Absolutely.
credible. But back to Heffernan, they changed the laws basically mid-game just to make sure Eddie lost. I mean, that's totally crazy.
And it's so funny. I can keep going on with Hefner because I was in front of him quite a few times, And
I think the chat would agree. We got plenty of time. If you don't, if you're,
well,
we got plenty of time, right, chat?
Hefner gave me a bail on a bank robbery, and they went cuckoo on him. And as I'm walking out, I says, you made the right decision on the Eddie O'Brien case, and he gave me this big smile. So, but again, I knew Hefner, and he knew my family.
Thank you for the $4.99 super chat. It says free Eddie, lock up Tom Riley. There we go, man. We got a lot of people that love Eddie in this chat. I mean, we got another one. Courts are not fair. Aunt Geraldine in the house too. In this case right here, just think about how many cases we don't know about. The only, what kills me was watching the Karen Reed stuff, and this was Karen Reed a long time ago. Why wasn't the outrage then for this kid? You know what I mean? Like there was enough to make an outrage back then, but the political arena was way different back then. You didn't have a balance. Mainstream media, bro. Mainstream media is never going to go against the system.
No, not at all. And like I said, there was a lot of high profile juvenile cases at the time, and and they seen that this is a great way to get publicity. You get it? And that's exactly what Riley did. Riley, he was a professional. He was a professional politician. He was not a DA. You understand that, right?
Inside the truth about Eddie O'Brien is, as a judge called Heffernan and said, bro, the people upstairs are pissed. They want you to flip your ruling. And Heffernan said, I ain't changing jack. Not
How about that?
Bro, I ain't changing nothing. They tried to pressure me, but I'm not folding.
How about that?
But they made him. They got rid of him, right?
That's what they know. That's it. They couldn't make them. So when we can't make them, we replace them.
He said, I know why I was taken off the case, because I wouldn't change my opinions.
You know what it was? His opinion, and then he goes on to say how the same guy that he spoke to about that calls him back, his friend, and his friend actually, a well-respected judge back then, agreed with Heffernan. And that same guy calls him back and says, they want you to change your opinion. That, and he assumes it came from that they were going to flip his decision, and they were trying to give him a chance to stay on the case. You understand?
Yep. And
if he changes his opinion on that ruling, Heffernan stays on the case. But that's how much Heffernan stayed to his morals, that he wanted no part of the what was going to happen to Eddie O'Brien.
Thank you.
He says it right there. He knew the kid was done from there.
Anthony Snow says, since a $49 super chat, says, thank you for this, free Eddie O'Brien. And then on Geraldine says, where is it? Here it is. Free Eddie. You know what I mean? Absolutely.
And thank God for and listen to me, I got to tell you something. I am so happy for Karen Reed. I just had a bitter taste because it brought a bitter taste because my friend's sitting in there doing 30 years. Karen Reed didn't do 30 minutes. You understand?
Absolutely.
And it's going to take this to get this kid out after 30 years. It just blows my mind,
And there's plenty of people in the joint. I mean, of course, I'm innocent, but when it comes down to it, there's a lot of people that the system does this to, and it took a unicorn like Karen Reed, white privilege,
absolutely,
to the team. Somebody that's a professor, someone that has money. They do this to people that are broke like us every day.
Absolutely,
just don't see it.
And again, I can give a personal insight on that. I mean, I was, my case, my federal case, and this ain't about me. I'm talking about this because of the corruption with the government. I basically I changed my life. I had 15 years sober. I become a business agent with the Teamsters, and they didn't like that. I'm helping guys out, come home, giving them jobs, and me and my dear friend, James Diamichis, they call him Jimmy the Bull, Tommy Flaherty, and John Perry, who's like a father figure to me. They hit us with a RICO case for picket lines, a 47 count indictment. And, they took everything. They took my house, my pension, my annuity, my bank accounts, you name it, my children's savings. Like, you have no idea to the treachery they will do to hurt you. You understand?
And they label you as an enforcer.
Yes,
and
they put me down.
Pretty, like, you're a enforcer for the Teamsters, allegedly. Like, that's a pretty big.
Yes. And the thing is this was picket lines, but they make it sound like we're shaking down. In their aspect and how they justify themselves and make themselves look like heroes, they put in like that we were shaking down hospitals and how what are those things there?
You're trying to get big jobs allegedly. You wanted all the
big
contracts.
No, but then I'm just I got so much.
The big dig.
No, it wasn't the big dig. This was for the moving companies. There would be moves going on, and the buildings and the companies would use non-union labor, and we would picket so the job went to a union. It's in a union jurisdiction. The job should have went to a union company. So we would go picking, which is our total right to do, and they charged us with extortion. Nonprofits like these people that are making tons of money. And they have departments that are supposed to hire union labor when they're doing the moves, the hospitals, the big companies, the banks, just like everybody union for the state. You see what I'm saying? Like, you can't have a janitor go in and do a floor not part of the union. You know what I mean? And
right.
So the thing was so many non-union moving companies were moving into the city, which was union jurisdiction, and our right to the work. And they're undercutting the union companies, and they're hiring people, on. Back then it was like, you go online, and if you wanted a job, you can get a job for the day, stuff like that, day labor, no health and welfare, no nothing for the workers, giving them pennies on the dollar, mostly all illegal immigrants that had to do anything, And we would picket, and we would win the job, and it would go to a union operation. You know what I mean? And that was my job, and they try to make picket lines illegal. And we had a 4-month trial in federal court, and you wouldn't believe, when it says the United States of America versus Joseph Burhoe, it's exactly what it is. It's the country against you, I promise you.
Oh, yes, but the federal government, man. But you overturned that case, in which a lot of people don't have a chance to do with the feds.
Well, the thing is we had a 4-month trial. Everybody stuck together. The feds try to tear you apart, get everybody to make lies up against each other and get convictions. Well, that didn't happen. All 4 of us went to trial. Tommy, Jimmy, me, John. And we lost. But I spent 3 years. It took me 3 years to overturn it, but all 47 counts were. I'm the only guy that ever got a RICO case overturned. And all 47 counts were overturned, and the federal appeals court said, which they never do, to the judge, that you basically kidnapped these men. Everything we were doing was legal. They knew it. They didn't care. They knew that they could disrupt us, get us out of office. See, they got so much money. The feds will spend $1 million on a $1 thief. You understand?
Yeah, absolutely.
And they know we don't have the money to fight them. And that's where it comes down to. We're cattle for the slaughter for these people.
So it was much better before RICO was born.
Oh my God, man. That RICO was something else.
Yeah, but Heffernan says, to get back on track, right? Heffernan says that the DA, Tom Riley, right, was acting weird from the start, but the DA never tried the case personally, right? That's crazy. Riley jumped on this one. Held press conferences every friggin' day, turned it into a political show.
And that's what I mean. They do what they want. Eddie was a victim of circumstances. And, you asked me that. There's a question you asked me about what doesn't a lot of people don't know about Eddie. For me, ask me that question, will you, Mikey?
Oh, hang on. Let me go back. About what was it again?
Being with Eddie. Tell people what they don't know about Eddie, like something that
somebody like Eddie O'Brien, right? A lot of people just know what they hear, and Tom Riley makes him out to be a monster, and you know Eddie. What's something that people don't know about Eddie?
And I'm sitting with Eddie one day, and it's so hard for him to talk about this. You understand that, right? And so I never pushed it. He'd talk when he felt like he had to talk. And one day, we're sitting there and we're eating, and he looks over at me and he goes, "You know what fucking kills me?" I said, "No, what's up, buddy?" I didn't expect this. He says, "Them pieces of shit did not even give me a chance to mourn the loss of my friend's mother or my family. These were our friends." He says, "I didn't even get a chance to mourn her." Imagine that. It shook me. I was like, wow.
Wow. So he was saying that,
like him and his family, like they didn't even get a chance to mourn their friend. These people just didn't care. They tore apart a whole neighborhood. You understand? Like, and that blew my mind right there. That I just felt so bad because I get it. You know what I mean? You put yourself in his situation. Imagine this. Like, say you got a lifelong friend you grew up with, and just say it's not him they're doing it to, but that happens to them. Of course, you're going to be, wow, like mourn them, and you get it. Like they took that away from his whole family and put his family on a defense they should have never had to be on. Like they didn't care. They didn't care about right, but they didn't care about the human aspect of this at all, man. Like you are a player, a piece on the chessboard for them, and they have no human empathy towards you. They are going to make that story fit to their book. You understand? They have a playbook, just like we have a playbook. And it comes back, if the glove don't fit, make it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, basically. And, that's reverse profiling.
100%.
Basically, and that's in the notes that we've been going over. I had to transcribe all the notes because you can't understand that scribble, but the notes alone should be enough. But imagine Eddie O'Brien didn't have a chance to mourn Janet.
Right.
That ain't just a statement. That I think that's the truth about this case. And they tried to make Eddie into something that he's not. We definitely free Eddie all day.
Right. There it is. Like my heart I got it. I got it right there. Like I got it. Like, wow. You wonder what he thinks about.
I get it. Make it make sense, right? From when I get it, Janet wasn't some random neighbor. She was his best friend's mother, right? Someone who fed him, knew his parents for 18 years. Hold on. Someone who welcomed him in, right? They grew up around each other. A woman he respected. And in that interview, did you have a crush on Janet? He said, no, I was 15 years old.
Thank you.
I would have a crush on someone my own age. So when she died, Eddie should have been grieving, I think, like the rest of the neighborhood, but he never got the chance.
Absolutely. I mean, these are things that nobody thinks about. They
didn't treat him like a grieving kid. They treated him like a suspect from minute one.
Absolutely.
Made the parents in the hospital.
And don't forget,
witness.
Exactly. Like they tore them apart. They tried to tear them apart every which way they could, but they couldn't, And you got to remember, somebody's mother was brutally murdered here. And they didn't try to find out who did it. They wanted it to be him. And they stopped it right there.
Well, that's what Detective McGee said on the other show.
Right.
He said he said, as a detective, you don't stop investigating. Like when you found out that the blood was it coming back to Eddie from the FBI, you should have tested the other blood. You didn't.
Absolutely. And they had plenty of players to do it to. Trust me. If they spent the energy on solving this cases they did, protecting the people that should have been investigated. Trust me, we're not even talking about this right now.
Absolutely. Hey, Jojo, give me a minute. Stand by, right? I'm going to take a quick break and we'll come right back, okay? Stand by.
Absolutely.
Very, very entertaining chat. We're talking to, JoJo. I still get his name wrong. Joseph JoJo Burhoe. Don't want to sound too Italian. Shout out to him, though, telling us so much about Eddie O'Brien. Give me a second, people. We'll be right back. Definitely get to the truth about Eddie O'Brien. I seen Jessica O'Brien in the chat. Thank you. Thank you to everybody, man. Free Eddie, right? Free Eddie till it's backwards.
Eddie O'Brien, oh what a story to tell. 15 years young, caught in a prison cell, trapped in the system. Ain't that just a shame? For a crime he didn't do, they played him like a game. Pattern so clear, yet nobody sees. Intentional lies blowing in the breeze. Documented truths, but they're buried so deep. Poor kid lost his life while the system's asleep. Free Eddie, free him till it's backward. Guilty on paper, but he never had the hard facts. Let a fool think he won, that's how it goes. Eddie's innocence buried beneath all the woes. The man couldn't keep his own story straight. Taking the kid's future, ain't that real fate? Welcome back, chat got us talking hood-wise. Dark humor and metaphors disguised in the cries. Sir, hypothetically, in a murder case, ain't it funny how a fool runs this rat race? Growth don't happen in the middle of this mess. Step back, breathe, man, just let go of the stress. Free Eddie, free him till it's backward. Guilty on paper, but he never had the hard facts. Let a fool think he won, that's how it goes. Eddie's innocence buried beneath all the woes. See, you gotta let the clowns believe they succeeded. You didn't fold a break, you just got what you needed. Took it to the chin, not the heart, you see. Don't let the chaos take space in your melody. You're built different, like a lesson they missed. Teaching them boundaries, couldn't find them on a list. Drowning in a puddle, they dragged you below. But now you let them flounder, cause they reap what they sow. So here's to Eddie, justice long overdue. Fighting for the truth like we all have to do. Step back from the noise, watch him throw a fit. Free Eddie O'Brien, let's never forget this. Eddie O'Brien, oh what a story to tell. Fighting for his life in this unjust hell. Free him till it's backward. Guilty on paper, but he never had the hard facts. Let a fool think he won, that's how it goes. Eddie's innocence buried beneath all the woes.
Courtroom lights, truth's gonna bend. Heffernan standing tall, trying to defend. Said it looked bad on paper, but it's all deeper. Politics lurking, call it a grim reaper. Eddie was just a kid, caught in the fray. But the power players had a game to play. From day one, they wanted him to fall. A kid in the spotlight, crushed by it all. Heffernan knew the truth. No, it ain't fair. Politics behind the scenes, no one would care. Guilty or innocent, the verdict was set. Justice wasn't blind, it was a political bet. Victor Bonham was chosen, thought he would be right, a face of fairness in that long, dark night. But the DA smiled wide, played both sides slick. Heffernan thought neutral, but maybe that's the trick. Eddie's fate sealed with a stroke of a pen. My ruling was sound, but the world turned again. They needed him guilty to fit their plan, change the laws mid-game. Oh, what a scam! Heffernan knew the truth. No, it ain't fair. Politics behind the scenes, no one would care. Guilty or innocent, the verdict was set. Justice wasn't blind, it was a political bet. Juvenile court, he should have stayed there. 20 years, not a slap, but no one would care. System in panic cause he stood his ground, but the wheels of justice just turned him around. They wanted Eddie down, they wanted him lost. With the stakes so high, he paid the cost. Heffernan's truth reigned clear in the dark. Tried to bring light, but it missed the mark. Eddie, a kid caught in a game, lost in the shuffle, society's shame. So here's a lesson carved deep as stone: justice shouldn't wear a political tone. Heffernan stood firm, knew it wasn't just. In a world focused on power, who can you trust? Heffernan knew the truth. No, it ain't fair. Politics behind the scenes, no one would care. Guilty or innocent, the verdict was set. Justice wasn't blind, it was a political bet. So let's remember as the story unfolds, the tales of the innocent, the truth yet told. Heffernan knew the truth, and it cuts like a knife in the courtroom.
We'll be right back with you, man. Just holding it down. Free Eddie all day, everybody. Go to keep more Eddie OBrien at Commonwealth State. To help you have and don't. Hit that like button, man. You get DNA on that like button.
Just a boy from Somerville, caught in the storm, innocence shattered in a world so torn. They said it was fear, reopening the doors, filled with whispers behind closed floors. A white boy convicted made it look fair, but in the shadow of justice, the truth laid bare. Eddie was a name, but just a pawn in the game, sacrificed and railroaded. Nothing felt the same. Oh, just a boy from Somerville. They played with his life as if it was a thrill. Politics and pressure, shadows at play. Innocent hearts lost in this twisted ballet. Barnum was under pressure, he folded like glass. The DA showboating, just trying to amass. The system wanted justice, but justice was blind, changing the laws, leaving truth far behind. Remove the judge who dared to be just. Eddie was demonized in the world's cruel thrust. Size mattered not. From day one he fought, but all they did was sweep. Oh, just a boy from Somerville, they played with his life as if it was a thrill. Politics and pressure, shadows at play, innocent hearts lost in this twisted ballet. And those inside knew the story was wrong. We could have done better, sang the old wrong song. Experts pressure to twist the truth, arm in the court of despair. There was no charm, he never stood a chance from the very start. A tragic confession, a broken heart. Watch Eddie's face.
We back. Hope you enjoy some of the music. We switched it up a little bit for this one. Chat, talk to me. Y'all enjoying this? Are you locked in? Because over here, we ain't doing no propaganda, no scare tactics. We definitely don't do Tom Riley approved news reporter nonsense. I'm bringing you facts. We give you real evidence, giving you the truth the Commonwealth tried to bury for 30 years. I mean, Eddie O'Brien, from what I understand, has always been a peacemaker. You heard him say how he basically, stopped a race war from popping off. And that's how it happens in them places, man. Gladiator school. But Eddie O'Brien has always been a peacemaker, a kid who helps. He don't hurt. A kid who loves his neighbors, carried a little boy on his bike all the way home. A kid who never even got a chance to mourn Janet Downing before they threw him under the political bus. And how could you be any other way except free Eddie? If you're rocking with this, right? If you're rocking with justice, if you're rocking with the truth finally being told, right? Light up the chat, yo. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share the stream, push this message out. Stop being disrespectful. But we're going to get back into it. We got JoJo. What's up?
What's up, pal?
We're back. Sorry about that,
Don't worry about it.
How you like the music?
I love it. I didn't think I was gonna, but I do actually.
They switched it up, man. I figured let me bring a different feel.
I can't hang with that rap stuff,
Not for everybody, but we brought a different feel for the chat. It's free Eddie all day till it's backwards, man. But we're gonna get back into it, man. A lot to talk about, man. So we talked about how Eddie and all that stuff, what the O'Brien family, and they're in the chat. Jessica was in there. I think Mr. O'Brien is in there. If you want to say a word to them. Yeah, they're definitely in there.
Can you hear me? Can I hear her?
They can hear you, but they can't. You can't hear them. But they can hear you.
Well, I just, I love them. They know how I am with them. They're my extended family. Jessica is my sister. And I can't even explain the pain in my heart that these people don't get to be with their brother. And sometimes I feel bad that I got to spend so much time with them when they don't, and that's another part people don't get. I go with their sisters and they're asking me 50 million questions about their brother that I should be asking them. You know what I mean? It's so sad. And the human aspect of this is so they don't care. This is just Eddie's just a number. You know what I mean? These people have just turned him into a number. They're not thinking about he didn't get to see his nieces born at Thanksgiving. They don't see the tears in his eyes on the phone when he's talking to his family every Christmas, every Thanksgiving. That is pain that can never be replaced. Those are things that can never be replaced. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
People don't get it.
Shout out to our people in Australia. We got our people in Australia listening to us right now that are screaming "Free Eddie" from Australia, from Ireland,
Right.
all around the world, bro.
And the
You
chat,
know, so
Eddie's
this is
it's
growing.
funny.
People know about Eddie.
It's funny. Eddie's trying to call me right now, as a matter of fact.
You know,
It's hard not to
oh
answer him, you know?
yeah, no. Oh man, that's too bad that you wasn't on a
Yeah, he'll call
computer or a
back.
different phone.
He'll call
You
back. You
know,
know, it's so sad. I gotta like, you know, and that's another thing. Like, he calls me and I gotta listen to this thing, you know, and, you know, the inmate spiel. It just breaks my heart for this kid,
oh
man. Like,
yeah, this is a
imagine
call
being
from
his
the
mother.
Department of
Just
Corrections.
imagine, Mikey, just imagine being his mother and having to hear that for 30 years, Mike.
And
Will you
having
accept the
very
collect
little hope.
call from Edward O'Brien? Imagine, like,
How
can
about
you?
this?
Like,
Being an
people can't
O'Brien
even wrap their
family,
hands around that.
and this is a family that believed in the system. They're a police family.
Absolutely. His grandfather was the chief of police, man. And Heffron had no idea. They never even knew each other. The grandfather was retired long before Heffron was on the bench. So all that stuff, well, you know, I guarantee you one thing. Heffron wouldn't with the political pressure that Heffron took from his people, he wouldn't have stood up for no police chief. I guarantee you that. You know what I
This is
mean?
a great comment. It says that at Rose said, "What's crazy is the Commonwealth has all the money to convict a child, but no money to protect the child."
Ain't that great? How about that? I mean, that's the conversation right there. There it is right there. Do you understand? You know, you're
So
fighting
many
against a
people.
mountain.
After today, we're definitely gonna have JoJo back up here. You know, we have a lot to talk about, but we ain't cutting this short. But the people are loving you, bro. Like they love Eddie. You know, they believe in Eddie, and that's why they're
It's just,
here.
yeah,
You know?
just listen. I'm just a friend. I'm just a person that's been with a guy. Don't love me, you know. Love him. Like, he's the one suffering. I'm not suffering. You know what I mean? Like, love the family. You just got to get this. This ain't about me. You know, thanks to that family, I am okay. They've always made sure I was okay, even when I wasn't. You don't understand. Like, this is a no-brainer, and it's all that. You go on that kid's page, it explains it up and down with their own paperwork, with their own words of how not guilty this kid is. Do you understand me? Like, and then Riley's notes. I mean, and then they don't even give him a fair fight. They don't even give him the stuff that they had to help him prove his innocence. You see what I'm saying? That's how corrupt they are. Like, he had evidence that would prove him not guilty, and he didn't turn it over to him. Come on, Mike.
Just tuning in, you know, definitely subscribe because we've been going over Riley's notes. I transcribed almost all of them because there are a lot of scribbles. We had to put them up
Because
on
he
the
was a
big
drunk.
TV. You know, there are a lot of scribbles, and a lot of it says the DA's handbook. You know, hypothetical. You know, if you can't get the facts, go hypothetical.
Imagine
Like,
that.
what kind of stuff is that? Like, the district attorney is supposed to be, no matter which way it leads you, you're not a defense attorney.
And that's the thing that I'll give you a perfect example, right? United States of America against me, all the money, all the resources in the world, and they still lie and cheat. You get it? Like, they will do anything they can to win. They don't care. They got sons telling against mothers, like ratting on their mothers in the feds. Like, that's how they don't even care. They would tear a family apart just to get a conviction. They don't care, man. They're climbing the ladder.
Absolutely. And a lot of this had to do with what you heard in the song, reopening the youth facilities, right? That they'll fill up with all the brown kids from the inner city. Politicians didn't want that smoke. They don't want the optics. They didn't want the headlines, right? So instead of fixing this shit, right, they just send kids to adult prisons. I seen it in the 90s, and it didn't stop at juveniles.
You want to hear the funny
kid from Somerville?
Right. And Eddie, it was the timing for Eddie. You know, if this is the first case that happened before all those other juvenile cases, it don't get this attention. It don't get Riley. I promise you.
No,
you know what I
they
mean?
use Eddie to make the system look fair.
Absolutely. He was
avoiding the racial issues. Eddie was
a
Karen
big
Reed.
kid.
Eddie was the white Cadillac.
He was a perfect suspect, a big kid. Come on. You know what I mean? Like, this kid didn't have a shot. I mean, everything worked against him. His size, which should have been a great thing for him in life because he was a great basketball player, could have done something with his life. Like, they took everything from this kid. They used everything that he was naturally given against him. You understand me? He was an altar boy, for crying out loud. You understand? Like, they used that against him. How do you use the kid for being an altar boy against him? They found a way.
And what's killing the kid years later is I can't mourn my
Yeah.
friend's mom.
And listen, he said that it's the reason that shook me so hard is because the sadness in his face. Like, I'm looking at him. You understand that? I'm looking right in his face when he said it. It broke my heart because I get it. I get it. You understand? People don't get it. I got it. You know, and that's why I'll fight for him. I mean, I swear to God. And Mike, I hate to say this, but if I got to use you to help him, I'm gonna. You understand me?
Yo, use me, man. Use me like a cheat code.
You know,
If it's gonna free Eddie, you know.
yeah. I love that about you, Mike. You're a real guy. You're a street guy, and you're out here doing it. And I hope big things happen for you. You know, and because you're a good guy, things will happen for you. I promise. You know.
Yeah, actually, you know, I got back into this. You know, I jumped into the free Eddie stuff. You know, JFK promoted it, and you know, shout out to them for getting the eyes on it because none of us.
Hey, hey, listen, I appreciate them guys, man. They played a really big part in this, and I'm grateful to them guys, man. Honest to God, I am. You know, but it is what it is.
No,
And
absolutely, yeah, no, definitely. You know, they played a big part, so we all know about the free Eddie O'Brien, and we just got to keep pushing along, you know, to get Eddie.
I wish them success. I wish all you guys success. You understand?
I think the real criminals here is the government. You know what I mean? And whoever actually did that.
There it is. I mean, that's it. I mean, you can talk about Adi. You can talk about Adi to your purple, but guess what? They're never going to charge Adi. They're never going to investigate him. You know, we need in my opinion, the murder is here with the government for not solving the murder. Plain and simple.
I said the next worst thing from losing your child is losing him to a life sentence, especially for a crime he didn't commit. And I did a show a few weeks ago, and I talked about the pain and the agony that the O'Brien's been living for 30 years, crying on the floor. What did I do wrong? Because my mother was crying on the floor in the visiting room, bro.
There you go.
Visiting room, around my ankles.
There you go. And
what did
you know,
I do?
Trish. You know, Trish. One thing I love about them, they did not. They have sense of humor, and they are. I've never had. It was always fun, laughs. They did not let these people kill them, man. Like I seen, like my Aunt Mary, when my cousin got murdered, her hair went gray. She was tortured. You understand? This is the same thing. Like you basically gave this kid a death sentence to live. What's worse than that? I mean, Trish says, she cracks me up. She says, my son's in a bubble. It's like the Bubble Boy, you know? You remember that movie?
Visits?
You remember the movie? The kid lived in a bubble, like, you know, and Trish compared it to that, like, and just to get an idea of Trish, she's a sweetheart, man. Like,
at least they can laugh about it when they go have visits, you know, and that's
a great cook, you know, because they have been through all of it. Just imagine, like, having to walk down the street with this stigma on you about you, and they held their heads tall because they should have. You understand me? They should have. They did nothing wrong. This kid did nothing wrong. And they went up against everybody, and they stood together, and they still stand together. You understand? Like, they are, that to me, where else do you see this? And this is in the face of adversity, brother. You get it?
Right,
like, don't measure a man.
Talk to anyone any closer to Eddie O'Brien than yourself, anyone that knows him, and you being a up dude. If you knew Eddie did this, could you still stand?
I honest to God, I don't even like to say this because he didn't do it. So it's not even something I should have to answer. And no, I would not have nothing to do with him, but it's just not even something that's in my mind. You get it? I don't even go there.
Right.
I don't have to go
It
there.
just has to be
For
asked.
me to
It
even
just has
go
to be
there
asked
would
to
make me think that I have doubts, you know, and I have no doubts. I never had a doubt since the day I met this kid. You understand? And
Yeah,
trust me, I'm a very listen. Inside there, you better listen. You. Here's how crazy the environment is inside prison. All right, I'm going to give you a little bit. You see you walk by guys that you know 25 times a day going through. You know, there's not too many places to go in there. You understand? So you see the same guys 25 times a day during the day. You say hi to each other every time you see each other, and I'll tell you why. Because the first time you don't say hi, that guy thinks something's wrong. That's the environment we are in there. You understand?
yeah, he's playing me. Oh, I know. You know what I
Well, what's
mean?
up with him? What's going on with him? That's survival. That's survival inside there. I can tell a guy, it's a survival instinct, and you better know it if you want to survive. Especially 30 years of it. He's been around the most dangerous people in the world. Massachusetts has one of the most violent penal systems in the country. You do understand that, right? And
that's what I
you
read.
survive in the Massachusetts system, you survive anywhere in this country. I've been all over the feds. Let me tell you, our system stands tall against any of them. I don't say that bragging. I'm saying that fact. All right? And the thing is that
Maddie,
you better learn.
Maddie, do you know Maddie from the other podcast, the W podcast? Maddie, he's been all around the prison from the Cape. What the hell's his last name? Yo, he's got a great podcast that he talks about. I mean, he's been busted up with riot shields and when the squad.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, Maddie. I don't know him personally, but I know. Yeah, everybody speaks very highly of Maddie. Maddie's a good guy.
You know, Maddie tells a lot of horror stories about.
I was in the feds. I was in the feds when Maddie was upstate. So, but I know guys that know Maddie and speak the world of Maddie. You know, and
absolutely.
And that's the thing is this.
Some of Maddie's stuff.
The nightmare. It's not a pretty picture. And this kid persevered in there. Went to school, got a degree. Like, come on, are you kidding me? And
they needed a villain, bro. They needed a villain.
Can I say something too? This cracks me up. And they mentioned the cell phone about something in there. It is every prisoner's dream inside to have a cell phone. You do understand that, right?
I'm sure it was. I did time.
And it was. Trust me. You made money with a cell phone in China. Everybody wants cell phones, and you'd be shocked at how many cell phones are in there. Okay, so as far as the cell phone thing, oh my God, everybody wants a cell phone. I had a cell phone. I'm in the feds. I had a cell phone.
Are you kidding? What I wouldn't do to have a cell phone.
I mean, it is what it is. Like I had them everywhere I went. You make money with a cell phone. You make money with a cell phone inside there. That's a hustle inside there.
Well, even what's worth more than that, forget the money. Just having that privacy with your family, having that able to call them up, when they need you, when you need
exactly.
To get in touch
just
with
like
them
Facebook. This kid never got a chance to entertain Facebook or just the simple things like. Put it this way, just being able to FaceTime each other. Like, see, come on, are you kidding me? This kid grew up with nothing, sticks and stones inside these horrifying places. Like, he didn't get a chance to do any of that. Like, he's a 15-year-old kid. You think he wants to grow up? He's still a boy. Like, come on. 30 years, he has a cleaner record than 100 of my friends put together. You understand?
And the fact that his institutional record is pretty impressive and impeccable, really. He hasn't had a ticket in a long time, and you have to be, not to get a ticket, because even the people that don't get in trouble get in trouble. You get
absolutely.
These guys.
It's impossible. Put it this way, it's impossible. It takes one guard not to like you, and believe me, your life is miserable. I promise you. You know what I mean? And Eddie, I always used to say, how do you do it, Eddie? And Eddie would say, it is what it is. It's who I am. He wishes no ill will on nobody. He doesn't even wish ill will on Riley and them. He wants to come home. He just wants the truth. He wants to clear his name. Like I say to him, I'd come out like a maniac if I were you. He's like, I just want my family. I want to go to work. I want to enjoy any time I have left. This is Eddie O'Brien. You understand? I would come out like a raging lunatic. I'm not gonna lie. They stole my life. They stole this kid's life. If anybody should be upset and mad, it's Eddie O'Brien.
Oh, absolutely. You should be mad at the world, mad at the system. I'm just saying
Oh my God.
The media
The system
turned
is so bad.
a headline before he could even speak. Look, the newspapers, TV, politicians, they jumped on the story like it was a career opportunity.
It was a career opportunity. It was, and you notice Riley didn't let nobody else get any part of it. He kept that all to himself. You know what I mean? And it's the good old boys club. You got his law partners running the attorney general for Massachusetts. You got his buddy Weld going for governor. You got him. They had a law office together. I mean, come on. It's a circus. You got Haley. You got Haley's governor now. She was a protege of Riley. What's the other one that lost to Scott Brown? I like to say every chance I get. Coakley. Now Ryan. These were all part of Riley's proteges. They all thank Riley for their Where does this kid ever get a shot at getting justice anytime in Middlesex County? Where? How?
Hey, Mrs. O'Brien said you made her cry, Joe. She says she loves
I love her. I love her. I love her. She is such a sweet woman. I wish she was my mother.
And I'm sure she thinks of you the same.
Oh my God. Let me tell you something. We have cried, laughed. She was at my wedding. She was at my baby's christening. They were a part of my life. Like, these people, they didn't miss nothing. They showed up for everything for me. They represented me every step of the way of my success and in my failures. You understand?
Right.
All of them. Every O'Brien I know. I have never met a bad O'Brien. You understand me? Their uncles, all
their
of
son
them.
loved you, their son respect you, and they knew you were close to their son, so they wanted, listen, we want to be close to you.
I mean it, Jess. All the girls, they are just such good people, man. So all of them.
After this case, man,
I can go on forever with this family. You understand me? Like, they are such good people. I don't know which one that is. I can't even tell you.
I haven't met any of them. Miss O'Brien sent me an email thanking me, but Eddie's case, just the way it made Tom Riley's career,
right? And that's the thing too.
It was his launch pad.
And that's the thing, right? There was something I wanted to say, they have, the cover up is always worse than the crime. Remember that. You understand that, Mike, right? What they needed to do now to cover this all up, they are committing crimes daily. The criminals are the justice system here, not Eddie O'Brien. You understand? Because take this conviction away from Eddie O'Brien. Who is Eddie O'Brien?
He's just a boy from Somerville.
He was an altar boy. He was a good brother. He was a great son. He worked. That's Eddie O'Brien. Take this conviction away. Does it make sense, any of this? Whoever did that to Janet hated Janet, had something against Janet. You understand? That was a brutal slaying. Not capable. This kid was not capable. Whoever did that, believe me, I've been in the joint with all these murderers. I've seen their crimes. I've heard why they've done it, why they overdid it. Half of them did. This kid had no reason. Come on. The cut on his hand, he would have blood everywhere. You think he was a smart criminal? Come on, think about it.
Let's talk
It's
about
all
that.
in front of you. If you want to read the evidence, if you want to see this kid not guilty, just read what they put out. It tells you everything. It speaks for itself, man.
Yep, and that's at thetruthabouteddieobrien.com. And the cut on his hand, that cut, like you said, there would have been his blood everywhere.
Everywhere.
Come on. Vessels in that hand. You got a lot of a lot of veins over there. So he would have definitely.
Bro, let me tell you something. whoever did that was a professional murderer. This was a 15-year-old kid who was an
You
altar
know,
boy. They didn't have all these crazy shows on TV, how to get away with murder, murder your spouse, all the shit they got today. I mean,
right.
you know,
And if you want the facts to this, go to the truth about Eddie O'Brien. You know, it shows you all this stuff. You know, after Eddie's case, Riley became Massachusetts Attorney General. Yeah, that's right. He got promoted. You know what I mean? Middlesex County DA, Attorney General of Mass.
They
That's
never
what
prosecuted the case. Hey, he became Attorney General without Eddie O'Brien's the only case he ever prosecuted. Are you fucking shitting me?
Imagine that. Name
How about
recognition,
that?
media attention. This is what the
How does he
O'Brien
become
did.
how does he become the keeper of the key when he never did anything part of the job? He was a defense key. He helped guys like me until he became that guy. Come on.
I mean, and then as Attorney General, he kept pushing that wave. He said, I'm going to keep riding this wave, you know, tough on juvenile crime, adult sentencing for minors. Super predator law was bullshit. Even the guy that came up with the super predator law said, yo, my bad. But what happened? They changed the laws, right? That they convicted Eddie O'Brien on.
Right.
He was convicted
He was listen, he was the tool. He was a blessing in disguise for these people. You understand the size of him, the background, everything. Everything fit their story, what they needed. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And then they call him a psychopath and stuff like that. He's the sweetest kid I ever met. The gentle giant, we all call him in there. I could have Henry call you in there. Henry's a pretty good dude from Fall River that with a great reputation, stand-up guy who would never have anything to do with Eddie O'Brien if he even thought for 1 second this kid was guilty. You ask Henry about him. You ask everybody I know, Tony, all these guys, stand-up guys that grew up in the system that would have nothing to do with whoever did this to Janet. You understand? Whoever did this to Janet would have been tortured inside the system. You understand that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
That's how you should know that Eddie never had a problem with, because no one ever believed it. Because I guess to know is to know. You understand?
Yep. If you know, you know.
And there's some stand-up guys that I everywhere I go, everybody asks me about Eddie. You know, how's Eddie doing? Because they know I'm in touch. You understand? Everybody. They see me, they ask about Eddie. You get it?
Well, absolutely, man. You know, yeah.
Because on
Eddie
this
seems
side
to
of it,
be.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go.
On this side of it, you know, we know when the deck is stacked. We all had it happen to us, you know. But you take in it because guys like us, we size it up to, I got away with all this. They got me with one. You get it? But it's not a life bid. It's not 30 years. Come on, you know. You do 5. Right. You got away with things that would have got you 100 years. You do 5. You can justify it in your head. You get it? This one's unjustifiable, pal.
Oh yeah, you know, and Riley, the laws he pushed, the fear he created, the juvenile justice changes that helped force their way.
He got his names in the books. He's a success as far as he's concerned, and he's got to deal with God someday. Remember that. You know, don't forget the God aspect of all this.
Oh, absolutely. And after the laws were overturned, Eddie O'Brien is still paying the price.
Absolutely. This kid could have been on a long time ago if he pled guilty, if he said he did it. He could have been home 10 years ago if he said he did it. He's doing the time. But why would he say he did something like this? Anybody in their right mind would say, I did it just to get out. He won't do it because he can't. That was his friend's mother, man. When is that ever going to be seen? Like, why can't people just get it?
Hang on a minute, Joe. Oh, chat, let me tell you something real, right? Tom Riley didn't just prosecute Eddie. He profited from Eddie. He used this case like a stepping stone, right? Became Attorney General off the back of a 15-year-old kid who never got to mourn Janet Downing. He ran for governor, built a career off of fear, politics, and bad friggin' science, right? And now, yeah, he's retired, living the life. and Eddie's still fighting for his. We got to free Eddie till his backwards. I mean, definitely, man. We really have to keep, talking about this. The more we talk about this, the more people will hear about it.
No, it's something that needs to be talked about, and just want him home. He needs to be home, bro. Like, if you knew the guy, he deserves to have his mother, man. He deserves to see his father and go to a game with his father before his father passes. His father, let me tell you, they don't make him any better. They do not make them any better. Hey, the only boy in his family taken away from him, he's been surrounded by girls being tortured.
Must be tough to use the bathroom, Mr.
And then, let me tell you, he's just like his son. He takes it with stride. He's the happiest grandfather, father. Them daughters adore their father. That's how good of a guy he was. Eddie adores his father. I adore his father. Big Eddie Snacks is the man, let me tell you.
Unbelievable, man. This definitely shift to the dealing with the system. Do all prosecutors operate this way?
I don't. Let me tell you something. If they want to, I don't believe that. No. It depends on what they're aspiring to be. If they just want to be some of them are for justice, of course. I mean, why would you become a prosecutor? But if you're a politician becoming a prosecutor, yes, this is just part of the game plan. It's their X's and O's. It's not how, it's not when, but how you're going to do it to somebody. It's going to happen sooner or later. They're waiting for that case that's going to put their name in the paper.
Well, yeah, a lot of them are just there. They want to be private sector. But
they're do-gooders. I mean, let's get real here. We need prosecutors. There are bad people out here. You know what I mean?
Right,
there was a time. Listen, I'm not going to pretend, Mike, and sit here and show. Like, there was a time I needed to be in prison, Michael. You understand? I did things to put me in prison. You need to keep the public safe.
Can't be mad. You know what I mean?
No,
like, hey,
listen,
I did what I did. I can't be mad.
Michael, I'm a strong believer. Don't hate the player, hate the game, brother. You understand? But now, like I said, that's a prosecutor doing their job, Mike. Like, when you got a politician, like, and if this don't scream politician, here he is. He's already the Middlesex DA, and he's never prosecuted a case. How the hell does that happen?
Yeah, I asked you something like
Eddie O'Brien, until a 15-year-old kid. And they're all Cambridge boys, and Bob George grew up in Cambridge, so I believe Bob George had great intentions, but he's up against his own people, up against the grain.
I mean, for him just to put on 2 days for a case like this, it just kind of makes me think that they say, listen, like, this is what you have to do.
Absolutely. The fix was in. I know the system. I know the system. Trust me, the fix was in.
You give us him, we'll give you him.
Heffman told you from the get-go.
And then Bob George almost beat Eddie to prison.
I hate to say it. But he ended up in prison himself.
Yeah.
What's that go to show you? I mean, it is what it is. And I believe it or not, I like Bob George. He's a but it is what it is. I love Eddie O'Brien.
We had a question that the DA painting Eddie as a monster. What's something about Eddie that you think Eddie wants the public to know about himself?
Eddie doesn't even have to address that. To address it would give it presence. You understand me?
Yeah.
Eddie, everything Eddie, I mean, here you are.
How about something about the type of man Eddie is?
Eddie is
about his character.
Let me tell you about Eddie O'Brien, all right? Just like his father. And it goes to show the character of that family from the get-go, how they raised him as a boy, because he's got every moral fiber of his father and his mother's upbringing. He never lost any of it. He's a gentleman. He's very intelligent. He's very kind. The kid there's a lot of guys that come in prison that have nothing. they have nothing. So they get their 3 meals a day. They get whatever the state gives them. Eddie feeds the guys with nothing. He makes extra for things that you would think was stupid. It's not stupid. It goes to show him who he is. He always made anyone around him, anyone around. When I got out of the hole for that fight, I came back when they put me back in the pop. My cell had $150 worth of commissary waiting for me from Eddie O'Brien. You understand that? Because he knew I wouldn't be able to go to commissary for 2 weeks. I lost my commissary. That's Eddie O'Brien. You get where I'm coming? Thinking ahead like that for me, and I'm not even thinking about that. You see what I mean?
Right, yeah, and I'm sure Eddie helped. A lot of guys have, you know.
He helped. He has taught more people off the ledge than anybody I ever know. He makes sense. He's an intelligent kid. He went to school. I used to say, why? I used to want him to get mad. Honest to God, I did. I want him to get mad, and he'd laugh. He used to just laugh. Me being me made him laugh more than anybody. You know what I mean? Not even trying to make him laugh. I used to make him laugh.
Like,
you understand me?
You know what I mean?
You had to see the kid play basketball. The kid had if the kid could have been home on the street, you should have seen him play basketball. You know, I'm the only one that could beat him.
Coming down the court, I could imagine trying to guard somebody like Eddie when he's driving to the rim.
Oh, I'm telling you, you have no idea. It was like a defensive end playing center. You know what I mean?
You believe the real killer was protected?
Huh?
Was the real killer protected?
I don't think, to be honest with you, we'll never know. They've never investigated this murder.
No, right.
They've never investigated this murder. I don't know if I don't think they wanted to. They're not going to find something they're not looking for, pal.
Right, and that's what Eddie said at his parole hearing. I don't think you guys even care.
No, there's a murderer out there. And listen, other things have happened out there since then with the same type of shit. And for some reason they're not tying it together. Like it's like something is making sure. Yeah, maybe they are protecting somebody. It could be one of Riley's nephews doing this for all we know. You know what I mean? We don't know. You never know.
There's stories that changed over the years so many times. You know, it's just
the only story that hasn't changed is Eddie O'Brien's.
No, Eddie O'Brien's story never changed.
Never changed. Nothing ever changed. You know, listen, any piece of the puzzle that didn't fit, they didn't change the piece. They changed the puzzle. They made it fit. I mean, read Riley's notes. He gives a crash course on cheating. Because these people have no empathy. They have no feeling. You understand? They have egos that just don't let them acknowledge what they're doing wrong. And I said that. The cover-up is worse. Now, Riley's got all his minions doing all his dirty work. So the things they were doing is against the law. You think they're ever going to bring this up or go on Eddie's side because they know they broke the law?
Eddie said you cheated in basketball when you played them. Uh-oh.
Well, hopefully I get to beat him again.
You know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely, man. You know,
I might have played hockey ball, you know.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? I know how them games go, you know.
Wall pull ball, Mike. Wall pull ball.
You know, foul. Yeah, ain't no fouls over here.
Oh, no fouls, brother. If you ain't bleeding, it didn't happen, Michael. You know what I mean?
What do you want the public to understand about Eddie's innocence that the media never explained to us?
Well, see, the public doesn't ever explain. The public never thinks this happens until Karen Reed. It takes a Karen Reed for people to even open up their minds to this. You understand me? And even she got found with all the shit she had. Listen, Mike, the perfect example right here. All the shit that showed her innocent, they still found her guilty, or they had a hung jury before the trial. Figure it out, Mike.
Juries are the worst. You know, I always said most juries.
Not just the juries, Mike. You don't know who these jurors are. They get who they want. It is what it is, Mike. It is what it is. It is what it is. Like, they will stack a deck, just like Gotti. They said Gotti had all his jurors. They're doing the same shit. You know what I mean?
Yep. All these years, I'm sure you know a lot of guys that say, I'm innocent. What keeps you fighting for Eddie O'Brien? I'm sure Eddie's not the only one that says they're
Mike, I could do a whole show on that, Mike. I could do a whole show, Mike. It's like, just put it this way, Mike. You got a little brother, and he's with you when something happens, right? You fucking know he didn't do it. That's the feeling I have. Okay, and they're accusing your brother, and you know he didn't do it, Mike. You ever going to start fighting for him?
Never. Never.
There it is, Mike. I know this kid did not do this. I know it.
When he gets his Rule 30 hearing, not if, when he gets his Rule 30 hearing, what do you think will finally come out?
Well, I just said to you, let me explain something to you. You ready? You hear this loud, Michael, okay?
Yeah.
U.S. Attorney Wayne Budd, assistant to Weld, when he was a U.S. Attorney for Massachusetts. Budd became U.S. Attorney when Weld became governor. Riley and Budd were childhood best friends, attended law school together, opened up a law office together. Opened up Budd and Riley. Check it out, all fact. When Riley took Eddie's case, he tapped into that connection between Budd and Weld to get what he wanted for this case. As Baker was an assistant to Weld, he was in Weld's cabinet. Baker, takes credit for that disaster, the big dig. And I like Baker, to tell you the truth. I won't lie here. Baker appoints Budd's daughter to the Chief Justice of the Mass SJC. Riley is her godfather. And quotes during her appointment ceremony how Riley was a mentor and an uncle to her. She currently holds the post. So you tell me what's going to happen, Mike.
Yeah, a lot of politics involved here, and everybody seemed to do okay off the back of Eddie O'Brien's conviction.
There it is. I mean, do you see how deep this still is 30 years later? 30 years later, look at me. 30 years later, it's like Riley's still there.
Yeah, and
all I can compare it is to, in my head, is Rage Against the Machine.
And I'm sure they're aware Eddie's preparing a Rule 30 motion.
Of course they are. Yeah, they know that this was never going to. Listen to me. Eddie O'Brien is going to fight till his last breath. You understand me? That's Eddie O'Brien.
We're going to get him out long before that.
I pray to God we do, Michael.
I mean, we're going to get him out long before that. Us and other people talking about this because the DNA is so BS. They wouldn't even let, when Eddie's lawyer put a motion in to compel the evidence, and they said, there's no grounds, and the judge denied it. And it's like, I thought it's, all, everything but the truth, everything but the truth is what it is. They're not letting him get all his evidence. They hid evidence.
They never in their wildest dream imagined this kid standing up like he did and the family sticking together like they did. They couldn't even imagine that because they're not built that way. You understand? And they just, they never thought that this would be a dawn on their side. And they never had a price to pay. Not yet, anyway. You know what I mean?
Eddie O'Brien excluded as the primary source. There was no conclusions on the secondary source. It's
unbelievable.
Makes sense on this. And
everything I read about this kid shows me how not guilty he is. I don't get it.
They didn't test the Downing's DNA. They didn't test the friend's DNA. How about the kid that said that he heard somebody saying, "What are you still doing here?" And somebody running up the street. This is reasonable doubt, people.
100%.
The people whose stories change every 30 minutes. That's reasonable doubt.
Mike, why would they want to prove him innocent?
And this is what the people have to understand. the stairwell blood.
I can just keep going back to Heffern's statement. Heffern said it all right from the get-go. Heffern knew how this story went. You know, he says it right there. This kid doesn't have a shot. Doesn't have a shot. And the judge that took him and kept him as a juvenile, a well-respected judge, but he wasn't part of the machine. That's what I'm saying. You got judges that really want to do the right thing. You got prosecutors that want to do the one thing. The only thing is here is we got a 50-50. We got a judge that wanted to do the right thing, but we got a politician on the other side of it.
And here's the thing, people. This don't only happen in Mass, right? It's happening everywhere.
Everywhere. It's the cabal. It's the cabal. It's the cabal, Michael. You know what I mean?
They'll fill them. That was the whole Joe Biden thing, super predator law. Let's get them off the street now. These kids are going to be crazy, crazy maniacs. And right. Eddie was opposite of the profile. And he said, oh, this is great. We don't have to open a new facility, which they didn't want to pay the money to, because they don't want to protect the juveniles.
Well, and also it was more about race than anything. They just figured these places would be filled with poor black kids being, the same thing happening to a black kid. You know what I mean? Just think of all the black kids they did this to. They done this to Eddie. But how many of these young African Americans got tortured by our system?
Every day, and it's still happening. We see it. We see it every time. It happens over
100%,
and over.
100%.
My buddy sat in a courtroom one day waiting to bail a friend out, and he sat there, and he said to me at the end of the day, he said, bro, I sat there all day, and if you had money, you were going home. He said, I seen a judge make a guy take his shoes off and check to see if he had money in his shoes. I was like, unbelievable. You know what I mean? Unbelievable. Yeah. But the blood kind of gets me, right? Because here's the thing, right? Blood don't lie.
There it is.
Right? Blood don't lie. The blood tells the story, right? And someone else was bleeding in that house, but the Commonwealth didn't want anyone to know that. Who else was in that house? And it wasn't Eddie's blood, because you would have seen it all over the place.
There's statements by potential suspects, and that they were allowed to enter that house looking for kitty litter boxes and shit, So, and there was no cats. So, like I said, you're not going to find what you're not looking for. Riley's hardest part of this trial was, the hardest thing about Riley was to keep everything under his way, his story. You do get that, right? To make it fit. He had so many fires and so many flames in this case that his time was spent on putting out the fires to keep to his theory on Eddie. You see what I mean?
Yep. Let me interrupt you for a minute. At Sherry Lee at Free Eddie O'Brien is in the chat, and if you go over to Eddie O'Brien page, you could get a tote bag, make like a $40 donation to the Rule 30, or you can get a Free Eddie O'Brien t-shirt. But if you go over there, Eddie O'Brien, I'm sure you'll be able to find it. Sherry Lee, Free Eddie O'Brien, seems to be a big advocate for Eddie. So
she's amazing. She's amazing, man. She's amazing. She's amazing. That's all I can say.
She runs the Harriet Tubman program, right? Or she's part of that program?
I believe so, yeah. She's close to Eddie, and she takes care of Eddie. She helps Eddie out, and all of them. Everybody, listen, this is not new for the O'Brien family. They've been fighting from day one, man. This is, bumps in the road. No one's dealt with more bumps in the road than this family, and brush themselves off and put a smile on their face, And the best part of this is that all the pain and suffering in their hearts, they did not let it affect the rest of their children. They raised them normal, and they gave them the best life that they can have. And their children are all great kids, come out great. And the thing is my Aunt Mary, when my cousin Terry was murdered, she shut down. The rest, she unknowingly, unwillingly, like, abused the rest of her children. Like, you understand? Like, she was gone. Like, unfortunately, they just didn't kill Terry. They killed Mary, and for the O'Briens to stick together the way they have and to make sure that they kept a normal household. I mean, it's just a testament to these people's fortitude, Never judge a man on, Michael, never judge a man on how he acts when times are good. Judge a man on how he acts when times are bad, Michael.
Oh, absolutely. Don't tell me what you said when I'm
Right.
in the room.
Right.
Wait till I leave the room. And I say that all the time. I tell my chat that,
That's right.
Yeah, the problem is, but if they just followed the science, I think if Riley did his job, did his real job and didn't care about his political future, they might have to admit that they were wrong, and they were never going to let a 15-year-old kid ruin their conviction rate.
And let me tell you, Eddie did all this. Eddie's had help from attorneys, but let me tell you, this kid is educated. He's a smart kid, and he's did most of this work himself, like the law. But he doesn't waste a minute. He's put his life. I mean, he can come out today and get a job anywhere. I mean, he's got the degrees now. He's done nothing but positive things for himself while he was in there, and that just goes to kill me on what he got robbed of. Who would he have been if this never happened to him? There's so much to Eddie O'Brien. Like, that's he's just not, the suspect in her murder. He's a great guy, like a good friend, a loyal, good man, with morals and honor and respect, and he doesn't waver. That kid does not waver. He will not bend his morals. He won't. And that's his father. That's a testament to his father and mother. They raised him for the 15 years they had with him. They did a great job,
Right. Absolutely. And some people was saying, well, if the rule 30 and they said, all right, we'll plead this down and you get out right now, a lot of people don't think Eddie would do it.
Eddie won't do it. Eddie, I'll tell you right now. And they know it. They wouldn't, as much as they want him home, they would never have him do that. That's what I love about them. Why would they do that? No. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll tell you, Eddie's an inspiration to a lot of guys, man. Things in ways you wouldn't know. Like, when you think you're having a hard time, you think of him and you'll be all right. Trust me.
Oh, I'm sure, because a lot of guys probably look at Eddie, and I heard a little something that when he first went in there, I guess some guys that were from Somerville knew he got a bad rap and kind of took Eddie under their wing. You know what I mean? And people already knew, like, this kid got fucked in a major way.
That was known when he was at Cambridge. We all knew that. That's when I met him. Like I told him, keep your head up, kid. Like, I walked by him one day, I goes, keep your head up. You're gonna be all right. You know what I mean? And people were told, not that he needed any help, because he was a big boy, and he was a very strong, tough kid too. Eddie could have been a bully in there. Trust me, he could have been. That's just not who he is. He looks out for the little guy. He helps the underdog. And I watched him feed more people. I used to say, "Why are you doing anything for that guy?" And you know what he'd say? He'd say, "He's hungry." And I just shake my head at him.
Yeah, right. Oh no, absolutely. Nice
I'm not kidding you. It's a guy I wouldn't give the time of day to. You know what I mean? But not Eddie. Eddie, he's hungry.
In a place like that, where the only thing that they respect is the violence, and
absolutely, they don't get it. They're because and 90% of it is,
and you
it's
see
just
somebody,
only the strong survive, bro.
Oh, absolutely. And you see somebody come in like Eddie O'Brien, that's such a good guy, and usually, like, there's situations where he becomes part of his environment after 30 years, but Eddie never became part of the prison. He never adapted to violence. It never sucked him in, and you see people become monsters over 30 years.
It's funny you said that, because of course it's all gangs up there, you know what I mean? And usually you have to gang up. You go gang wherever your community is. You got the Somerville, Charlestown guys together. I'm not going to get into it too much, but you get the gangs, and Eddie O'Brien's probably one of the only guys that can go into every gang and be accepted as a friend. You understand? Because he never did any of that. He's made peace between gangs that were warring. Like, I'm telling you, this kid, I mean, you got COs going to his parole hearing for him. What's that tell you, man?
No, right, yeah. And I'm sure
Come
guys went
on.
up to Eddie and said, I got a beef with this. We need to straighten it out. And Eddie, I'll take care of it. And Eddie would go talk to the lead, that head guy and this head guy, and probably make peace.
That's it. And let me tell you, out of respect for him, many have been dropped. He's actually saved more lives. I'll tell you, because it gets ugly in there, as you know. And he's probably saved more people than, Riley ever has.
So, free Eddie O'Brien, hey, thank you for the gifted 10 memberships. Wow, appreciate that. A lot of people come here because I think we are a free Eddie O'Brien channel, and I made 100%. Up my mind.
Mikey, I already love you, Mikey. You know what I mean? You're a real guy. I've been talking to you. I've been feeling you out, and I'm very comfortable with you.
No, I appreciate it. I think we all have the same.
I just ask you one thing, Mikey. Just keep it real, Mike.
Oh, we do, and you can ask people. That people always say that if you go back and watch some of my stuff, people, and that's what I made an 8-year. I've been doing this for 8 years now, and but I used to do a lot of school stuff, and then I started seeing how corrupted the teachers were and how nasty they were once these kids got to high school, and I started exposing teachers. I'm under a lawsuit now. I'm being sued for slander. So I always kept it real. I just say how it is. I don't know any other way.
The truth, sometimes the truth causes more pain than the crime, You know
what it was? I was never good at lying, and I was never good at remembering my lies. So I said, I'm just not going to lie. I'm just going to, you know what? You got me. You got me.
The funny thing is I've been boxing since 07, so I just didn't even care. That's why I didn't lie. If you didn't like me, so what? I don't care.
Yeah, right. Yeah, man. There was some good guys. I remember Dougie Millette, who would have been one of the great boxers, Yeah, boxing was a big thing back then.
Yeah, you got Mancini, you got all them guys out them Rhode Island guys. You got some really good Rhode Island guys,
Yeah, the CES crew. You got Vinny Paz, Greg
Scully,
Thompson.
John Scully. You got Scully. You got to give Scully a shout out,
And my good friend, Peter Manfredo.
Yeah, Peter. I did a job.
Prayers to Gary Boletto, paralyzed, paraplegic from doing pull-ups in his yard, and the pull-up bar broke. Like, he was on the Contender.
Oh, yeah.
Great Tiger Boletto. Yeah, some great people come out of both states.
I met Manfredo on a job here in Cambridge. He was on labor. They let him work in Boston, Good kid.
Yeah, right.
Good kid.
Yeah, great people, two great areas, but we need to get Eddie free. You know what I mean?
That's it.
Need to get Eddie out of there. Some people had questions about the other guy, but I think we could bring you up another time.
That other guy is a waste of oxygen. I don't even want to talk about him.
I hear you. You know what I mean? And with me, he just lied so many times. It's just I just can't give you no credibility.
Well, like I said, listen to me, and it's got to be said. This is the government's fault, plain and simple.
Yeah,
this is the culprit in here. The culprit in here is the government. I honestly believe in my heart that a murderer is going to kill somebody to get away with it. Am I wrong?
They have got away with it.
Right. So there it is. So when you mention the other guy or any of them, these guys, the government didn't do their job. They're the culprit here. We don't know who did it. We don't know who did this crime because of the government. Plain and simple. They could have solved this crime if they wanted. They didn't choose to. They didn't. The truth wasn't good enough for Riley. Plain and simple. He doesn't come and prosecute the truth in this killer with this killer. This doesn't bring him anywhere. This is just a woman getting killed in her home. You understand?
Absolutely.
This had to be this. The Eddie is the meat and potatoes of this. You get it? Like the government, like it. She's just another. Unfortunately, mother being murdered. They would have tied it somehow to the house. It would have been a. I got a feeling this was way closer to her than meets the eye. You understand? That's not juicy. Riley doesn't take himself down here and prosecute this case if it's anybody but Eddie O'Brien.
Right. Yeah. No, there's a lot. It's definitely someone close to her. Absolutely. And she knows who it was actually.
And you know what? And you know the thing. Let me
night.
tell you something. That's another thing. Eddie says that she knows who did it. You know what I mean? So, and she
knew
knows
who it was at 5:30 p.m. She knew who it was all day when she told her neighbor that she was nervous about something. She knew who it was when she sat in the front of her car smoking that cigarette.
Right.
She knew who it was. She knew somebody was coming.
Right. So exactly. There you go. I mean, it's right in front of you.
In the chat, I think it's Mr. O'Brien. I don't know if it says Eddie O'Brien 1781. But yeah, Mr. O'Brien's here in the chat, which I don't know if it's him or Little Eddie, but
no, that's Big Eddie.
Well, we know Little Eddie's around because you said you cheated. He said
He's probably on the phone with somebody. I can't believe he says I cheated still.
Well, I'll tell you what, when we get Eddie out, hopefully we can get him on to have a nice, healthy talk with him.
I'll tell you what, I'll go to Disney World with him.
I'll go to Disney World with him. I said that. I got in trouble for saying that. People think I'm taking shots, but I'll go to Disney with Eddie. You know what I mean? I'll even let him sit in the back seat.
Mikey, you're a good guy, man.
You're too big for that.
And I thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this platform, Michael. Every bit helps, and the family appreciates it. And you got a friend, Mike.
I appreciate them. For what they go through. I know what they go through. Like I've been not where Eddie is, facing that kind of time, but I've been in them buildings. I've been
absolutely.
I see what it's like, and thank
Michael,
God that I changed my life when I was 27 years old. Right. I got all my 20s locked up.
Mikey, one day for what he's doing thus far is too much. You understand me?
Anthony Snow said, we're all going to Disney with Eddie and she'll buy the tickets. We're all going to Disney. We're going to mark that down. We're going to hold you to that.
My Sarah wants to go too.
And Eddie's going to ride in the, like Tom Brady.
Ask her if we can bring our significant others, will you?
You know what I mean? They could hear you. Said absolutely, but, free Eddie O'Brien. Prayers go out to Mr. O'Brien. You know what I mean?
God bless him.
To his friend,
he's a trooper.
To Geraldine.
Hey, just so everybody knows, right? Hey, I just got to say this, just so everybody knows, right? Trisha's the boss.
Oh, I already know how that works. I already know. They have 8 grandchildren, huh?
Oh, it's so entertaining. They are something else. I love them to death, man. It's so entertaining. Oh, you can feel. You walk in the door, right? Hey, I walk in the door. This is before he got his grandsons, and even the cat and the dogs are females. You know what I mean? And
poor guy.
He'd be in his recliner, and I look at him, and I could just feel his pain. You know what I mean?
Poor guy, man. When that bathroom's open,
he get a hold of me. Just to have another guy in the house, he'd get a hold of me. He wouldn't let me go,
Yeah, you are not leaving, I bet he's laughing right now. He's laughing his butt off. I mean,
just amazing.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Yep. We'll definitely get you back up here soon, because
whenever Mike, keep in touch. You'll be in touch, Mike. I'm willing to do anything you need, brother. You hear me?
My first guest since I came back on doing this, so
thank you very much.
You did a good job.
You did a great job, Mike. You made me comfortable. That's what you needed to do. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. You know, we don't make him too comfortable. You know what I mean? This guy knows where Hoffer is. You know?
It's that's a touchy subject. Yeah.
Little Teamster joke there. You know?
Yeah.
All right. Well,
He's
we'll talk
everywhere.
soon. Thank you.
All right, Mikey. Take care.
All right.
I
Bye-bye.
love you, Eddie and Trish. I love you guys.
I appreciate that, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care, Mike.
All right. What do you guys think, man? We had JoJo Burhoe on. You know, I said Joey. I made him sound too Italian. You know, I made him sound too Italian. Shout out to him. You know, definitely a stand-up guy who a lot of respect in a lot of different circles. I mean, a lot of respect. And for him to say, you know, the story he said about Eddie in the gym, you know, was incredible, you know, because I know how them basketball games go. You know, you get to fight different races. Before you know it, everybody's coming onto the basketball court. And he said one of the main guys that was well respected was like, nah, one-on-one. And even Eddie was standing there. Right? Big boy Eddie, you know, he was a peacemaker. And he made sure nobody was jumping in for the 25 minutes. Like, usually beefs in the joint don't last for 25 minutes. But this guy Tate, right, which was a very, very bad guy. Like, this guy Tate would handcuff the husbands and make the husbands watch while he did bad things to their wives. This guy Tate was a bad, bad man who was going up in inmates, who was taking advantage of people. So when they seen even his own people didn't like him. And when they seen Tate, you know what I mean, beefing with Burhoe, with JoJo, you know what I mean, they let that shit go on. And you know, and Tate ended up, you know, not getting up right away. And Eddie made sure that nobody was getting involved. And he said that's how Eddie was. He was a peacemaker. You know what I mean? Give me a minute. We'll be right back, man. I got an Eddie O'Brien song that I think y'all gonna like. You know what I mean? Just a boy from Somerville. You know what I mean? Salute to Eddie O'Brien, man. You know, definitely get a membership. Hit the goals. Really appreciate that. But most importantly, man, hit the like button. Hashtag free Eddie above anything.
Eddie's face when the world turned cold. An innocent spirit caught in a tale retold. The system failed you, that much is clear. A boy from Somerville, lost in his fear. Yet in the ashes, his story remains of the justice betrayed and the bitter pains. Through the lens of history, we sing his plight. Remember the boy who stood up to the night. Just a boy from Somerville. They played with his life as if it was a thrill. Politics and pressure, shadows at play, innocent hearts lost in this twisted ballet. So let's tell his story, raise voices, unite. For every Eddie, let's stand up and fight. Just a boy from Somerville, forever will stand in the hearts of the people. Heffernan standing tall, trying to defend. Said it looked bad on paper, but it's all deeper. Politics lurking, call it a grim reaper. Eddie was just a kid, caught in the fray, but the power players had a game to play. From day one, they wanted him to fall. A kid in the spotlight, crushed by it all. Heffernan knew the truth. No, it ain't fair. Politics behind the scenes, no one would care. Guilty or innocent, the verdict was set. Justice wasn't blind, it was a political bet. Dr. Bonham was chosen, thought he would be right, a face of fairness in that long, dark night. But the DA smiled wide, played both sides slick. Heffernan thought neutral, but maybe that's the trick. Eddie's fate sealed with a stroke of a pen. My ruling was sound, but the world turned again. They needed him guilty to fit their plan, change the laws mid-game. Oh, what a scam! Heffernan knew the truth. No, it ain't fair. Politics behind the scenes, no one would care. Guilty or innocent, the verdict was set. Justice wasn't blind, it was a political bet. Juvenile court, he should have stayed there. 20 years, not a slap, but no one would care. System in panic cause he stood his ground, but the wheels of justice just turned him around. They wanted Eddie down, they wanted him lost. With the stakes so high, he paid the cost. Heffernan's truth reigned clear in the dark, tried to bring light, but it missed the mark. Eddie, a kid caught in a game, lost in the shuffle, society's shame. So here's the lesson carved deep as stone: justice shouldn't wear a political tone. Heffernan stood firm, knew it wasn't just. In a world focused on power, who can you trust? Heffernan knew the truth. No, it ain't fair. Politics behind the scenes, no one would care. Guilty or innocent, the verdict was set. Justice wasn't blind, it was a political bet. So let's remember as the story unfolds, the tales of the innocent, the truth yet told. Heffernan knew the truth, and it cuts like a knife in the courtroom of power. What's the cost of a life?
I'll be back in just a minute. It's definitely Free Eddie. You know, I'm looking at all your comments.
Eddie O'Brien, oh, what a story to tell. 15 years young, caught in a prison cell, trapped in the system. Ain't that just a shame? For a crime he didn't do, they played him like a game. Pattern so clear, yet nobody sees. Intentional lies blowing in the breeze. Documented truths, but they're buried so deep. Poor kid lost his life while the system's asleep. Free Eddie, free him till it's backward. Guilty on paper, but he never had the hard facts. Let a fool think he won, that's how it goes. Eddie's innocence buried beneath all the woes. The man couldn't keep his own story straight. Taking the kid's future, ain't that real fate? Welcome back, chat got us talking hood-wise. Dark humor and metaphors disguised in the cries. Sir, hypothetically, in a murder case, ain't it funny how a fool runs this rat race? Growth don't happen in the middle of this mess. Step back, breathe, man, just let go of the stress. Free Eddie, free him till it's backward. Guilty on paper, but he never had the hard facts. Let a fool think he won, that's how it goes. Eddie's innocence buried beneath all the woes. See, you gotta let the clowns believe they succeeded. You didn't fold a break, you just got what you needed. Took it to the chin, not the heart, you see. Don't let the chaos take space in your melody. You're built different, like a lesson they missed. Teaching them boundaries, couldn't find them on a list. Drowning in a puddle, they dragged you below. But now you let them flounder, cause they reap what they sow. So here's to Eddie, just as long overdue. Fighting for the truth like we all have to do. Step back from the noise, watch him throw a fit. Free Eddie O'Brien, let's never forget this. Eddie O'Brien, oh what a story to tell. Fighting for his life in this unjust hell. Till it's backward, guilty on paper, but he never had the hard facts. Let a fool think he won, that's how it goes. Eddie's innocence buried beneath all the woes.
Oh, and it's Free Eddie. It's Free. Yo, we gotta hear that one more time. You gotta hear that one more time, man. It's Free Eddie. Put your Free Eddies in the chat, please.
Eddie O'Brien, oh what a story to tell. 15 years young, caught in a prison cell. Trapped in the system, ain't that just a shame? For a crime he didn't do, they played him like a game. Pattern so clear, yet nobody sees. Intentional lies blowing in the breeze. Documented truths, but they're buried so deep. Poor kid lost his life while the system's asleep. Free Eddie, free him till it's backward. Guilty on paper, but he never had the hard facts. Let a fool think he won, that's how it goes. Eddie's innocence buried beneath all the woes. The man couldn't keep his own story straight. Taking the kid's future, ain't that real fate? Welcome back, chat got us talking hood-wise. Dark humor and metaphors disguised in the cries. Sir, hypothetically, in a murder case, ain't it funny how a fool runs this rat race? Growth don't happen in the middle of this mess. Step back, breathe, man, just let go of the stress. Free Eddie, free him till it's backward. Guilty on paper, but he never had the hard facts. Let a fool think he won, that's how it goes. Eddie's innocence buried beneath all the woes. See, you gotta let the clowns believe they succeeded. You didn't fold a break, you just got what you needed. Took it to the chin, not the heart, you see. Don't let the chaos take space in your melody. You're built different, like a lesson they missed. Teaching them boundaries, couldn't find them on a list. Drowning in a puddle, they dragged you below. But now you let them flounder, cause they reap what they sow. So here's to Eddie, just as long overdue. Fighting for the truth like we all have to do. Step back from the noise, watch him throw a fit. Free Eddie O'Brien, let's never forget this. Eddie O'Brien, oh what a story to tell. Fighting for his life in this unjust hell. Free him till it's backward. Guilty on paper, but he never had the hard facts. Let a fool think he won, that's how it goes. Eddie's innocence buried beneath all the woes.
JoJo, you know, and we definitely gonna have JoJo back up here talking more stuff, you know, but you know, the respect that Eddie O'Brien seemed to have inside the institution, you know, I think it's because, you know, people liked Eddie. You know what I mean? People respect him. You know what I mean? Good guy. And I seen a lot of good guys when we were locked up. But we asked JoJo, him being someone from the streets, knowing courts, politics, what Eddie's case says about how the system treats kids. Big shout out to Free Bird. Awesome song, Free Eddie. Eddie will be free. Oh, we going to Disney, Free Bird. Absolutely. It's Eddie's year. Amen. Blessing to all. All love to Eddie and his beautiful family. Absolutely. And we heard a lot about Eddie's family, when we was, when JoJo was on, so yeah, man, free Eddie all day, every day. Big shout out to Oxy. How you been? Powerful lyrics. Yeah, great tune. Thank you for the 9.99. We got to read between the lines. Absolutely, read between the lines. I'm sure you're familiar with systems of loyalty. Oh, absolutely. If Adi is old school minded like myself, he'd most certainly cover up for a family member that he's close to. I could see that. I could see Adi doing that. I won't miss anything here, so let me go backwards, all right? Let me go backwards before I can go forward. Hey, Robert says it was a political bet. We got Free Eddie. Hey, before the attack took place, could have started at 8:35 when Eddie found the scene. This seems more logical than 10 minutes. Free Eddie. I used to think that no way would a 15-year-old be able to do that. We've seen school. Chisholm. You know what? I have a good video from Maddie about Chisholm. The age isn't the doubt pot for me anymore. It's the 10-minute timeline. I don't think Adi did it, but who is he covering for? That's my opinion. Very good comment, and I'm to the point to think that um, it's irrelevant about Adi because they are never, ever going to convict anybody for this. I think what I learned out of what I heard from JoJo is I guess we got to concentrate on the government, right? We got to go at this kind of like Turtle Boy did. Not as extreme. You know what I mean? I ain't doing, I can't even get a civil attorney. Never mind, raise money for a criminal attorney. But I think we have to cover it that way. I think we have to attack it, by going after Riley. A lot of people are still in position. You know what I mean? Part of Riley's administration. You see how Riley and Bud, ended up with a private firm, and we're gonna look into that. Yeah, no, we don't want. We want you to have your own opinion. Come up. Absolutely. I don't always have the popular opinion, but no way I am going to say what people want to hear. That's my opinion. I just think the Amatol test. You know what I mean? You're not passing the Amatol test. A lie detector test, the luminol. Even if Eddie had a change of clothes, but that guy said at 10:15 he seen somebody hop a fence, scale a fence, and Eddie at 300 pounds, that's a lot of meat to get over a fence. And his timeline don't add up because Eddie was already at midnight convenience, and we know that because Eddie's sitting there with EMTs and a cop. But as far as Adi, you know what I mean? JFK's doing a good enough job getting Adi to spiral out of control, so but I don't know. I don't see any point. I'm, I mean, maybe eventually Adi will eventually spill the beans or whatever why he was in the house. But are we ever gonna find out what happened to Janet? Did you hear what he said about how Eddie was like, you know what's crazy? They wouldn't even let me mourn my friend's mother. And he was pretty upset about it. I don't think you're being I don't think you're being rude about that. Lastly, not to be but he wasn't in great shape to swing his arm that many times in a short time. Absolutely. I dated an Eddie and Billed at 16. Oh yeah. Yeah, that'll tire you out. You know what I mean? Look, try to just do it in free air 98 times. 98 times. And if you think about it, right? So if you're standing up, your arms are above your heart rate, above your heart, right? So what's that going to happen? It's going to screw up, it's going to get you dizzy and all that shit. You know what I mean? So not only you're standing up, your arms are straight up, your heart rate. Eddie's a big boy. He is not doing that in that amount of time. Go look at the Craig Price case. Go look at the Craig Price case. When you mention Chisholm and you mention Craig Price, and then we mention Eddie O'Brien, all three were juveniles that committed these horrible, horrible friggin' crimes. Horrible crimes. They said they were all psychopaths. All of them were put in prison, right? Where the only thing they respect is the violence. All of them. Right? And it was only Eddie O'Brien that didn't show under that kind of stress that he was a psychopath. Craig Price, absolutely. Craig Price was out of control. I remember Craig Price back in 95, 96 in Rhode Island maximum security. It was cell cleaning. And the cell we were going down the tier. And this is the tier, the picture that I show. Where is it? We're going down the tiers, right? You go in there, you have a bed to the right. You have a little desk, probably 2 foot wide. You have a chair mounted. You have a ceramic. This is like the old castle building. It's ancient. You have a ceramic sink. You know what I mean? And then you have a ceramic toilet with no toilet seat. How nice. You have a little bookshelf. But yeah, we're doing cell cleaning. So Craig Price was mopping his cell. You know what I mean? And when they said the cop name, I think his name was Loggy. Loggy or Zachy? I think it was Loggy. You hear how loud my car is? with no damn exhaust. Yeah, it was I think it was Loggy, and he went to grab the mop. Now he had his hand on the mop. Price had his hand on the mop. Price a big boy, like Eddie, and Loggy went to pull the mop out of Price's hands, and Price held the mop firm, so it didn't go anywhere. So Price, the next time Loggy went to pull the mop again, now they're both the mops level with both their noses. He went to pull the mop again, and at the same time, Craig Price took the mop and pushed it. So at the same time, Loggy's pulling it, Price is pushing it, and it busted Loggy's face wide open. Wide open. It was Saturday morning, cell cleaning, and guess what? It was lockdown at that point. You know, it was lockdown at that point. Yeah, Adi was raised in Charlestown. A lot of people have a lot of bad things to say about Adi. He wasn't a good person growing up, I guess, but like from what I heard, it don't matter about Adi, really. The real crime is Riley and his people. You know what I mean? It all comes out in the wash. So eventually, Adi, if Adi is guilty of anything, he's gonna expose his own. It was Riley playing games with people's lives and rigging the system. It's like playing poker and all the hands have cheated. Right. Basically. It's all good. At Freebird, just want to make sure you get your t-shirt and tote. So at Freebird, talk to Aunt Geraldine and she'll if you did get it. If not, just be in touch with her. When I get my first paycheck, I'm getting a t-shirt and I'm so excited. We're gonna get the link, pin it up. I seen the Eddie O'Brien page where you can get the tote bag, free Eddie. I used to make t-shirts and stuff. I have like 3 heat presses that I press t-shirts with. I know a vendor also that can get transfers made. Maybe we can get transfers made, free Eddie shirts. You know what I mean? Have a little saying on it, free Eddie. Maybe get some hoodies. You know what I mean? And give a good percentage. After we pay for all the supplies and stuff, give a good percentage to the Eddie O'Brien fund, because you know what, he's gonna need more than $1,000, man. So maybe we could, you know, sell some t-shirts, sell some hoodies, that have Eddie O'Brien. I can contract FM transfers. I could have like 100 transfers made. You know what I mean? With a nice saying, free Eddie O'Brien. You know what I mean? With, the free Eddie O'Brien, the truth about EddieO'Brien.com website. We'll see. We'll talk about that because I have the equipment. I got 3 heat presses in the back room. I got crickets and everything, but I found out it's more economically just to have everything made. So maybe I'll talk to Miss Sherry and we can get that moving. You know, have a QR vote on DM. Commonwealth versus Castillo 2020 law unconstitutional under modern mass ruling. Like I heard of that. Commonwealth Castillo. I wanted to say something about me and JFK as well in a second. I think people are just kind of misreading everything. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Oh, I enjoyed the JFK show as well. I listen to it all the time. I will, Freebird. Absolutely. I enjoyed the JFK show, but there's just some behind the scenes stuff that yes, I know. Yo, the chat over there, oh my god, the chat is unbelievable. The chat's totally unbelievable. You know what I mean? We're gonna get into that in 1 second, because the only thing that matters to me is it's free Eddie. You know what I mean? I believe wholeheartedly that is free Eddie. You know what I mean? But I was told that the JFK they don't want me to use the content, any of the interviews, which that's okay. That's okay. I believe you know what? That's his content. He made that content. You know what I mean? Like so, no problem. Like I understand that, and I say all the time that I don't like using other people's content. I got a lot of respect for Jay Brill, Kevy Kev. Every time Kevy Kev speaks, he's got nothing but great things to say. But I just feel if you give me a second, let me run to the bathroom. Hold on. Give me a minute. I'll be right back.
Innocence shattered in a world so torn. They said it was fear reopening the doors, filled with whispers behind closed floors. A white boy convicted made it look fair, but in the shadow of justice the truth laid bare. Eddie was a name, but just a pawn in the game. Sacrificed and railroaded, nothing felt the same. Oh, just a boy from Somerville. They played with his life as if it was a thrill. Politics and pressure, shadows at play. Innocent hearts lost in this twisted ballet. He folded like glass, the DA showboating, just trying to amass. The system wanted justice, but justice was blind, changing the laws, leaving truth far behind. Remove the judge who dared to be just. Eddie was demonized in the world's cruel thrust. Size mattered not when politics run deep. From day one he fought, but all they did was sweep. Oh, just a boy from Somerville. They played with his life From the very start, a tragic confession, a broken heart.
There you go, man. Boy from Somerville.
When the world turned cold, an innocent spirit caught in a tale retold. The system failed him, that much is clear. A boy from Somerville, lost in his fear. Yet in the ashes, his story remains of the justice betrayed and the bitter pains. Through the lens of history, we sing his plight. Remember the boy who stood up to the night. Just a boy from Somerville. They played with his life as if it was a thrill. Politics and pressure, shadows that play, innocent hearts lost in this twisted ballet. So let's tell his story, raise voices, unite. For every Eddie, let's stand up and fight. Just a boy from Somerville, forever will stand in the heart of the people.
I like that one, man. Just a boy from Somerville, man. Shout out to everybody. Thank you everybody in the chat. Big shout out to the Unforgettable. I seen some pictures of you at Eddie's visit, man. Very impressive, man. Shout out to you for going to see Eddie OBrien. But I want to take a minute right now, interruption, timeout, flag on the play. I know a lot of stuff been said the last couple of days about JFK. I've been getting a lot of messages. He don't want you using his content. Don't want you showing, and which that's okay. You know what I mean? I have no problem with that. But a lot of people have been asking, and I'm gonna keep it 100 like I always do, right? I don't lie because I don't need to forget a lie. I don't have no behind the scenes banter going on. You know what I mean? Shout out to all them guys over there. Shout out to even JFK, Jay Brill, Kevy Kev, James Jackson when he finds the time to come on. But he's doing his own thing now. He broke away from that, But JFK show off. He took a different stance recently on the Eddie OBrien case. You know what I mean? Why? What changed? What caused the bias? Well, that's up to him if he wants to tell you that. But honestly, that's his right? People change their minds, they get influenced, they hear one thing, they run with the other. That's life, man, and it's okay if you don't like me. I don't care, that's all good. I like his show, I watch his show, I still continue to watch his show. I see what Jay Brill does. Jay Brill stands on his square, he's free Eddie all day. And it just makes everything else stand out. Right? But that's fine. I mean, he's a grown man. You know what I mean? I don't need everybody to like me. I don't want everybody to like me. I'm not here for popularity. I'm here to speak the truth. For justice, for Eddie OBrien. Because this kid never got a fair fucking shot. Excuse my language. I'm just like, and if JOK don't want me using his free Eddie content anymore, cool. I respect that. I don't need it. I'm researching the real receipts. You know what I mean? It's okay. You continue to do what you do. I think we know what Gina said. I think we know what they all said. And I'm just standing on facts. I'm going over actual Eddie OBrien, case files. A lot of the reports, the newspaper articles that are written, that a lot of people have been going over, that's just Tom Riley propaganda. The Boston this, the Boston that, the newspapers, they were against this shit. You know what I mean? But when you read the actual receipts when you look at what's actually going on and you break down the blood samples, you break down the DNA, the different columns, how you can't take from one column and jump into the other column. When you break down all of that, when you start looking at the trial transcripts, not the propaganda of what a magazine said in 1995 that was a Riley propaganda piece. You got to do research, not feelings. So let me say this. I got no problem with dude, and I don't have to use his content. Like, I really don't want to, and I don't want to make this a big deal. But I just want to put it on the table because that's all I know is I just want to let my people know, like what's going on. Nothing but respect for Jay Brill. I got to say, nothing but respect for Jay Brill. I say that again. I say it loud. I say it clear. And listen, I don't want, if you want to go to that page, if you want to go to that page, I never did jack to JFK. I promote him. I tell people go watch him. But he don't reciprocate it. Have you ever seen, except for when I went on his show, any of him talking about my content? And I'm breaking down real shit. I'm breaking down, where and when this stuff happened. The super predator, who started it? I broke all that shit down. I broke down the blood samples that can't be broken down over there. But I got nothing but respect for Jay Brill. He takes heat from every direction and still shows up. Jay Brill is consistent. Jay Brill is solid. And Jay Brill has earned his respect. Now, Kevy Kev. Shout out to Kevy Kev. Always got bars. When I say bars, like always has something good to say. And when he talks, we should listen because, Kevy Kev is, brought out some very, very insightful spots and always shows love. But if they don't want me using the interviews, right, that's okay. If they want to keep their content separate, that's perfectly fine. I'm not here to step on toes. I'm not here to claim anything that isn't mine. We're trying to free a man. And that's the only thing that should count to anybody. It's freeing Eddie. Rest in peace, Janet Downing. Janet Downing got justice. Got 30 years of an innocent man. And I think we all know that. And JFK knows that. They're never going to come on your platform. I'm here to just tell the truth. I'm here to break down the real evidence, right? I'm here to fight for a kid who never got to mourn, never got to breed, never got to defend himself, never got to mourn Janet Downing. So you know what? Just screw with your content. And I say that the most respectful way. That's so friggin' petty. He's using my skateboard. Like, that's fine. I don't want to use your content. Peace to you. I hope you do great, man. Shout out to you. Go buy JFK's album. You know what I mean? Definitely support JFK because this is bigger than personalities. It's bigger than YouTube. It's bigger than who likes who. That's not what this is about. But at the end of the day, it's free Eddie till it's backwards, and there's no other way. And that's never going to change. There is no division. There is no division because I'm free Eddie and you are pro Adi or whatever you are. Salute to you. Nothing but respect. And I say that in the most respectful way, but I think it just had to be said. I really do. I think it just had to be said. When I say, I'll go to Disney with Eddie, I think it's funny. You know what I mean? So, but you know what? Shout out to everybody, man. You know what? So we're gonna get back to talking about Free Eddie all day, every day. I know it's not needed. I just wanted to get that out. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, shout out to Free Eddie. Let's just worry about that. Let's just break down the evidence. But I just wanted to make a point that about your about the content. If you don't want me using the content, I'm okay with that. I really am. I didn't mean that. I didn't mean to say it. I said that. That kind of came out wrong. You know what I mean? That came out wrong. But yeah, so we getting back into this. It was a great, great conversation with JoJo. Everything he had to say. I gotta say, you know what I was really interested in? What happened to Tom Riley's career after the Eddie O'Brien case? You know what I mean? Eddie's case, I think it made Tom Riley's career. It didn't break it. You know what I mean? Eddie O'Brien's case, I think, was Riley's launch pad. You know what I mean? He used it. I think he used it like a politician uses a damn tragedy. I know he didn't say that. I said that wrong. You know what I mean? I just said it wrong. That's okay. I understand that. You know what I mean? I was just saying if you don't it's okay. It's okay, Wendy. I'm sorry you feel that way. I did watch all 43 episodes. I'm just saying if you don't want me using his content, I won't. What I say? What's so bad about that? If you don't want me using your content, I won't. I don't want no one to pick. It ain't nobody. It ain't about picking sides. You know what? Let's forget this. You know what I mean? Um, he used it like a politician. Yeah, I think Tom Riley just kind of catapulted off Eddie. All his tough on crime speeches, the messages that he put out that just made a lot of people afraid. He just turned Eddie, a 15-year-old kid, into a commercial. And I think a lot of that came out today, because after the Eddie case, Riley became Massachusetts Attorney General. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So he goes from a Middlesex County DA, right, to Attorney General of Massachusetts. And from what JoJo said, he only sat on one case. The Eddie case never gave him name recognition, media attention. You know what I mean? Like to be tough on juvenile reputation, stuff like that. You know what I mean? He rode the wave into state office. That's what Riley did. And as Attorney General, he just kept pushing and pushing and pushing to be tough on kids' agenda. And that's the same energy he used on Eddie. He carried it right into the Attorney General's office. He supported what? What is it? Let me see. Adult sentences for minors, harsher juvenile laws, super predator rhetoric, and that right there was 90s fear. He built his brand on punishing kids instead of helping them. And after being Attorney General, I think Ryan really tried to level up, right? He ran for governor of Mass, right? But this time, the public wasn't buying it. I think he ended up losing the Democratic primary. And at that point, I think his political career kind of stalled out a little bit. I think he might have went into private business, like JoJo was saying. I mean, Riley's no longer in office. He's not. He's not a district attorney. He's not an attorney general. He's no longer a governor. I mean, this was 30 years ago. This was a long time ago. Retired from public life. He's about like in his 80s. But his family is. I think his daughter is still heavily involved. You know, the laws that he pushed, the fear that Riley ended up creating. You know what I mean? Juvenile justice, juvenile changes that he helped push through. A lot of those kids, a lot of them laws are still affecting a lot of these kids today. And Eddie O'Brien is still locked up. Is still locked up for the shit that Riley had to say. You know, but I don't think Riley, he didn't just prosecute Eddie. He profited off Eddie O'Brien. He used the case like a stepping stone. He became attorney general, right, off the back of a 15-year-old kid, right, who never got to mourn Janet Downing. And then he ended up running for governor. He built a career off politics. He built a career off bad science. And now he's retired, living his best life, while Eddie's still fighting for his best life. You know what I mean? Absolutely. Free Eddie till it's backwards. You know, absolutely free Eddie till it's backwards. And yeah, and if you just learn about this case, you know, you can go over to, you know, JFK Show Off Show. He's got like 37, 40 episodes into the show. I mean, he's got a lot of information built up, a whole playlist. I tell everybody to go over there and check it out. You know, and every day they're still uncovering more and more stuff. You know what I mean? So absolutely go over there and check it out. You know, I think it's in his playlist section. He has a whole system. Absolutely. We want justice for Janet, right? For Janet, like, but if Eddie didn't do it, did Janet get justice? You know, if it's proven that Janet didn't, I don't know if we'll ever find out who really did it. I don't think. I don't think we'll ever find out what really happened to Janet. Free Eddie backwards is Eddie's free. Eddie's free. You know, we all want to free. We all want to see free Eddie. You know, but I don't know if we'll ever find out what really happened to Janet, and um, I don't know if the person that ever really did that to Janet, if they will ever be locked up. I don't believe that. I would like to believe that. You know, knowing how the systems works. You know, knowing how the system works, I don't know. Will we ever find out what really happened to Janet? Riley really had the pictures of victims framed in his office. I don't know. However he gets to where he's going, but I think we're all already convinced. I think we all already know where we're going. You know what I mean? I think it's smart to try to get maybe the other side to come on your show. I don't know if they ever will go on anyone's show. Have they ever been on any other podcasts like over the years? Have Downing ever been on a podcast? And the Hefferon report. Oh my goodness, man. The Hefferon report. That says a lot. If you look at the Hefferon report, that says DA Tom Riley was acting weird from the jump. You look how he never tries cases personally, but Riley jumped on this case. He held press conferences every day. He turned it into a political show. I mean, Riley wasn't seeking justice. He was building a career. Go read the Hefferon report. That should tell you everything. Hefferon said Eddie was demonized because of how big he was. He says Eddie was a tailor-made bad guy. Like, they painted him to be a bad guy, and he looked like the type that could scare the public with. He said there was fear that reopening these juvenile centers, we're going to fill them with a lot of inner city kids. So convicting a white kid from Somerville made the shit look balanced. They sacrificed Eddie to make the system look fair. I mean, even people inside the system admitted that they screwed up on this case. They screwed up on this case. But listen, man, everybody, thank you. I appreciate it. Salute to everybody, salute to JFK and all them guys. Go over and watch all 47 episodes. Maybe people got misunderstood about it all. I was just trying to say that, if you don't want me watching the content or showing the content, I understand. That's all. I'm sorry. I apologize. I mean, I just don't like to keep things behind the scenes, but I appreciate everybody coming on and make sure we didn't miss anything. Thank you for all the new members. Thank you for the people that, just joining us. Definitely ain't about drama over here. It's definitely free Eddie. Yeah, it's free Eddie every day. I really appreciate everybody in the comment section, everyone that supported. Big shout out to Ed O'Brien becoming a new member. Big shout out to Mr. Usher's $10 with the free Eddie. At 2 cents with the $4.99 free Eddie. Lock up Tom Riley. Anthony Snow with the $49.99. Thank you for this free Eddie O'Brien. And Aunt Gerald with the $4.99 with a free Eddie. Jess O'Brien checking in today, free Eddie O'Brien. And at Courtney, $4.99 free Eddie O'Brien with a couple Shamrocks. At True Crime, shout out with the $2. Eddie was framed, period. Hashtag free Eddie. And that Evan Murphy with the $5, man. Mikey always showing up. Eddie, we're praying for you. And Miss Lush is coming back with the 10. Can we keep it real podcast memberships? What's better than that? And Eddie O'Brien doubling back with the $9.99. You can't get enough of Freebird with the $100. Awesome song, free Eddie. We'll be free. 2026 is Eddie's year. Amen. Blessing to all. All up to Eddie and his beautiful family. And $9.99. Oxy with the powerful lyrics right there. You know, and all our mods and our chat. Big shout out to everybody that held it down today. Trying to go back all the way to the beginning. You know, we want to shout everybody out. Get everybody on this. You know. You know, shout out to DLE3 saying, Eddie said you cheated basketball when you played him. That was hysterical. But Randall, Amanda are making changes. Welcome. And Trisha, I have faith it's going to happen. You know, shout out Randall, Patricia White jumping in. You know, so many people. At Amanda Fletcher, 3488. Hello, Randall in chat. At Trisha OBrien. Not Diane. Thank you. Keeping it real, keeping the faith, Rule 30. It breaks my heart hearing it. They don't seem to care at all about solving cases. The O'Brien spirit remains strong. I love that for them. And the epitome of strength, Mr. and Mrs. OB. Yeah, the love between JoJo and the O'Briens was actually, you know, incredible. You know, but yeah, if you want to know the facts, go to truthabouteddieobrien.com. Big shout out to @Sherry, you know, the free Eddie O'Brien camp. You know, definitely go to Eddie O'Brien over there on Facebook, you know, and you know, I think they get the Cash App, and then you take a picture of your receipt, send it to them, and they'll send you out an Eddie O'Brien shirt. Go to Eddie O'Brien. Thank you very much. You know, this will be in the members only section. Of course, we got to give it to the members first. We are definitely. Again, if you want to catch up on the case, go over to the JFK show. He has a whole library, you know, of a whole bunch of stuff. You know, he has, I can get Audie Ortiz interview with the parents. Oh, I didn't know. I thought Jay Brill was on the Free Eddie all day, every day. I didn't know Jay Brill thought that. Am I reading that right? Jay Brill also says that it's a possibility that Eddie isn't. I didn't know Jay Brill was taking that stand. Yes, the lab result on DNA. You cannot cross the columns. Absolutely. Apples, bananas, and they are fruit, but apples, yep. You know what? That's a great way to put it. Hey, unforgettable. Thank you for being part of the show. You also read the book. Go check out Margot Nash, Politics and Murder. Go check out that book. I think Eddie's writing a book, so there'll be a book out maybe when Eddie gets out, man. That'll be an exciting book. Free Eddie all day, every day. You know why? Because it's the only way. You know? Only way. Alright, I'll leave you with another song, Free Eddie. How about Hefferman New? Alright, thank you everybody. Peace. You know, we'll check back later. This being a members only tab, so grab a membership. You know what I mean? Shout out to everybody holding it down. Hit that like button.
In the courtroom lights.
I'll just take a Gulf Coast beach trip. I don't need Disney. Hey, wherever we can go. Are we all invited on the Gulf Coast? For Free Eddie all day until it's backwards. You know, all we want to do is get the dude out of jail, you know, so Free Eddie all day. You know, absolutely. Definitely, if you need to catch up on this, like I said, there's 47 episodes or 50 episodes over there. You know, the JFK has been breaking this down since October. You know what I mean? It's all low. It's all low. Let's go. We'll see you all next stream. Friends, chat, I appreciate it, man. I enjoyed breaking this down. I gotta work in the hours, you know. We gotta go. We out of here.
Dr. Bonham was chosen, thought he would be right. A face of fairness in that long, dark night. But the DA smiled wide, played both sides slick. Heffernan thought neutral, but maybe that's the trick. With a stroke of a pen, my ruling was sound, but the world turned again. They needed him guilty to fit their plan, change the laws mid-game. Oh, what a scam! Heffernan knew the truth. No, it ain't fair. Politics behind the scenes, no one would care. Guilty or innocent, the verdict was set. Justice wasn't blind. Was a political bet. Juvenile court, he should have stayed there. 20 years, not a slap, but no one would care. System in panic, cause he stood his ground. But the wheels of justice just turned him around. They wanted Eddie down. They wanted him lost. 'Cause the stakes so high, he was a political bet. Juvenile court, he should have stayed there. 20 years, not a slap, but no one would care. System in panic, cause he stood his ground. But the wheels of justice just turned him around. They wanted Eddie down. They wanted him lost. With the stakes so high. the cost. Heffernan's truth reigned clear in the dark. Tried to bring light, but it missed the mark. Eddie, a kid caught in a game, lost in the shuffle, society's shame. So here's a lesson carved deep as stone: justice shouldn't wear a political tone. Heffernan stood firm, knew it wasn't just in a world focused on power. Who can you trust? Heffernan knew the truth. No, it ain't fair. Politics behind the scenes, no one would care. Guilty or innocent, the verdict was set. Justice wasn't blind, it was a political bet. So let's remember as the story unfolds, the tales of the innocent, the truth yet told. Heffernan knew the truth, and it cuts like a knife in the courtroom of power. What's the cost of a life?